on. There we go. Okay, so we're live now. We are live on TikTok, on YouTube, and on Facebook. And today we're going to be talking about the Emerald Tablets of Thoth. So show this out, show this out, show this out. I was trying to share this out to Facebook from YouTube, and for some reason it didn't want to share. So I'm going to try that again and see if we can get that to share out over on YouTube. Weirdly, it wasn't wanting to do that on Facebook. So I don't know what was going on there. So welcome, everybody. Right, JC, welcome. Right, welcome, welcome, welcome. So yeah, we are live, and now I got it to share to YouTube and to it's live on YouTube, live on Facebook. Let me close this window for YouTube because I don't need that open right now. And let me come back over here and take down this overlay on the YouTube channel and Facebook. Okay, so now you guys can see me over here on. Put myself in full screen. So you guys on TikTok, you see me in full screen. You guys aren't going to be able to see the visuals, but you're going to be able to hear the words. So we're playing the Emerald Tablets of Thoth, and I think we're on chapter 17. Let me go over here and take a look and see where we're at. We're on chapter 15. So there's 15 of 15. So those of you on TikTok, you guys are getting here a little bit late, but it's okay because I'm going to start going live over there all the time, so you'll understand. So we're talking about spirituality. We're talking about the Emerald Tablets of Thoth right now. We're on the last tablet. There's 15 tablets. We're on the last tablet, but we're going to continue and talk about, let me see where I am over here on this. And we're going to continue and talk about spirituality. So if you guys have any questions about spirituality, religion, anything like that, you can look at my bio. If you guys are new to me on TikTok, look at my bio. You'll see that I am a theologian. I have four minister titles in 4 different religions. So what I do is I talk about spirituality. I teach spirituality, non-denominational spirituality, the true spirituality that everyone around the world, all of the ascended masters that are now in every religion or every religion was made from, what they were teaching was a way, not a religion. They weren't designing themselves to be a religion. None of them wanted to be a religion. They were designing themselves to be a way to ascend to heaven. And that got turned into religions by people, and then they edited things that they probably shouldn't have, but then they're teaching you really not even that information anymore. So I am one of the people that are here to show you that all of these ancient scrolls are exactly the same. The Emerald Tablets of Thoth are what we're focusing on today, this week, okay? So what we did before was we did the Hermeticum, the Corpus Hermeticum. Now, mainstream religion around the world will tell you that this stuff is not real, okay? I'm here to tell you that if they're claiming that this stuff is not real, that these religions aren't real, then their religion isn't real because their religion is teaching the exact same thing that all these other spiritual ways around the world, Taoism, Buddhism, Hinduism, Hindi, even the Bohemian, the religion of the Vikings, they call it Bohemian. I don't know if the Vikings actually call it that today. The Christianity, all of these religions around the world are all based on the same exact way. Okay, the Tao, Di Chi, the Tao means the way. Okay, so that's literally the way. Buddhism is the way. Okay, so Christianity, when Jesus was teaching his apostles, he was calling it the way. All right, so all of these religions around the world, even the Egyptians and the Greeks knew about it. They were all teaching the way. Then something changed in the world, and all of that got edited. And you have these religions. Each religion tries to tell you that they're the number one religion, they're the oldest religion, they're the real religion, and everyone else is fake. Okay. My brother is currently in a theological college, and he's literally learning about theology, right? And they're teaching him that the Hebrew Bible is not really a Bible, it's an apocrypha. And I said to him, welcome over there on YouTube, guys. I can see you guys in the chat, so welcome. So I said to him, you realize that you're claiming that the Hebrew Bible is not a real Bible, it's an apocrypha. You realize that your religion is based on that Bible. So if you say that the Hebrew Bible isn't really real, your religion can't be real. Jesus can't be real because Jesus was based on that religion and all of the prophecies, like 300 or 3,000 prophecies from the Hebrew Bible. So if you're claiming the Hebrew Bible is not real because you're trying to say that the Christian Bible is legit, but theirs is not, yours doesn't exist without theirs. That's what you guys call the Old Testament, right? So there's my wife in the crowd there. I'm going to see, Brooke, if you are actually listed as, so I'm clicking on you to see if you are a moderator. You are already a moderator, baby. So you can actually moderate, just so you know. Okay. So I'm glad that was doing that. So my wife Brooke is in the audience on TikTok. I think she's also managing on Facebook. But welcome to everybody on YouTube. We're live on Facebook, but we're not sharing out the Facebook on Facebook. We're sharing out the YouTube and the TikTok on Facebook, because Facebook, let's face it, Facebook is dying and only old people are on there. Everybody's on TikTok. For those of you that are on TikTok, hi, welcome to everybody that's here. Okay, so if I miss you on TikTok, I apologize, because I am live on my phone right here on TikTok, and I'm live in a studio here with monitors on YouTube and Facebook. But we're going to be switching that. I'm going to start going live here. I have a studio, but I couldn't stream live from TikTok and multi-stream to YouTube. So I'm going to work out those kinks and figure that out. Okay. So welcome to everybody that's there on YouTube and Facebook. There's my wife over there on YouTube. Welcome. And then there's Rukuate. I love that name, Rukuate. Welcome on YouTube. Okay, so if you're on TikTok, if you're on YouTube and you want to go to TikTok, there is a link. Hopefully my wife can do that. Brooke, if you could put the link for TikTok into the YouTube page. Those of you who want to come over to the TikTok, you guys can come over to the TikTok. Those of you who don't have TikTok, you can watch it on YouTube, or you can watch it on Facebook on Orion Rising. Okay, so we're talking about the Emerald Tablets of Thoth. Let me give you guys some background. Those of you who are on TikTok wondering what this is about, right? The Emerald Tablets of Thoth were found in 1929. They were found beneath the statue of Hermes Trismegistus. Hermes was a philosopher and someone who talked to God. That was a Greek person, but the Egyptians are now kind of claiming that he was Egyptian. So no one really knows if he was an Egyptian or a Greek. We believe the Greeks say that he was Greek and he went to Egypt and he studied with those people and brought back stuff over to Greece, to Arcadia, which was next to Mesopotamia in the Middle East. The Greeks owned it at the time. Okay, so he was teaching, and he had, in fact, the Hermetic texts are all from Hermes. Hermetic texts come from Hermes Trismegistus. Trismegistus means 3 times great. Okay, so when he died, they made a statue to him over there in the Middle East. In 1928 or 1929, they were doing like ground penetrating radar or something beneath the feet of the statue of Hermes. Literally was the Emerald Tablets of Thoth buried. Some people believe, the Egyptians and the Greeks believe, that Hermes was in fact the soul in Hermes' body, was in fact the same soul that was Thoth the Atlantean, who was here during Atlantis. And Thoth gave Hermes those emerald tablets. Somehow they realized that Hermes had them. So he either had them because he was Thoth and he knew where they were, or Thoth gave them to him. Either way, Hermes and the tablets were synonymous, and to this day, people think it was the same soul coming back here a second time. Okay, and he said that he was going to return. All right, so we're covering that because the information that is in the emerald tablets is the same information. Chandra, welcome over there on Facebook. Brooke, welcome on Facebook. What is that? Sweet Lumbers? I love that name, Sweet Lumbers, over there on YouTube. Welcome. That's a great name. That's got to be a business name, right? Sweet Lumbers has got to be a business name. I love that. So those of you that are on Facebook and YouTube, if you guys are interested and you have TikTok, you can come over to my TikTok channel and you guys can join in the chat over there if you like. Because I'm going to start going live there and then sharing it out to other places. Because let's face it, Facebook's dying. Only old people are over there. YouTube is a great place to archive stuff. But we're going to be going live there. But TikTok is where there's more people on the planet. So I'm going live on TikTok. Okay, so I love you guys over there on TikTok. So you guys are going to be able to hear the audio when I play it. You guys won't be able to see it on TikTok until I start going live there in the studio, and then I'll be able to show you this stuff live on the screen. So you'll be able to hear it. It's going to be playing on from the speakers that are over here. And those of you who are on Facebook and YouTube, you're going to see the visuals on the screen. And I'm using the phone, the way you guys are looking at the phone. If you're on YouTube and Facebook now, you might have to turn your phone. It depends on the way you have your phone justified, because the programming now has the Windows setup so that it's supposed to help you guys with cell phones in the way that it looks on the cell phone. But if you're seeing me upright normal on the cell phone, like on TikTok, that's why, because I turned that on. But when I do it in the studio, you guys might have to turn your phone for a better look. The reason that we're doing that is because usually I have words on the screen. So you guys are gonna be like the MP3 broadcast on TikTok. You're gonna hear it, but you're not going to see the words on the screen. I like to have the words there for people who like to read while they're listening, because some people learn better if they can see the words. Those of you on Facebook and YouTube, it's going to be business as usual. You guys are going to be able to hear the words and see them. Those of you on the MP3 broadcast, you guys you never see them anyways. Okay, so if you guys have questions, please type them in the chat on TikTok. My wife will post it up on the screen for me so that I see your questions, and I will take your questions about spirituality or about the Thoth, the Atlantean, or the Emerald Tablets, whatever you guys want to ask questions about. We will be going off of that and talking about other religions. I'll be talking about different things throughout history as well, to show you guys that the spirituality that's going on around the world is the spirituality that's going on around the world. Okay. And that's one of the things that they're kind of trying to keep from you. They're trying to show that, yeah, right. So I'm looking over on Facebook, and Chandra said, yeah, I've heard that's what the IRAC war was about, the Iraq war. Yes, that's actually really good, Chandra. If you guys are old enough to remember the Iraq war, she's making a reference when I was talking about spirituality and people trying to change that. If you guys are old enough to have remembered the Iraq war, you may not be if you're on TikTok, because you guys are usually younger. During the Iraq war, live on television, they were showing people going into the museums and the Iraqi people trying to rescue religious artifacts. And there were other people who were destroying the religious artifacts because they realized that the Americans were coming. So people don't realize that that some of the problem that they had during that time period was not just war over oil. There were religious artifacts that people, whatever, in the deep states or whatever, or formal governments wanted from the Iraqi people. And the Iraqi people knew that. So when they were defending Baghdad, they were trying to get as many of these artifacts out of Baghdad before the American troops landed in Baghdad, and they were on their way through the desert. And they were actually showing that on the news, where people were doing that. They were saying, we don't understand what's going on, but it looks like, Reese, welcome. It looks like people are trying to just first destroy items, and other ones are trying to steal them and get away, because they're for whatever it was they had in their museums that were ancient religious artifacts, they knew that the people who were invading now were going to take those. Okay, so if you listen to around the world, people will tell you that goes on all the time. If you watch any of the Ancient Aliens television program, they'll tell you the same thing, right? Chandra said, and underneath the earth there, it's a Stargate. Yeah, and see, that's what some people were talking about, like the Stargate from the Stargate series that was on television was loosely based on supposed real events, that there was a Stargate here on Earth, and that they had found it underneath the desert somewhere. And some people were saying, like Chandra saying, that there was rumors that there was a possibility that in Baghdad or under Baghdad was an actual Stargate, and that the war was really not over oil, that there was over some of that kind of stuff, right? So I don't know for sure, right? I don't understand for sure if that's what it was, but I'm thinking that there's probably a good possibility that kind of stuff was happening, because we know that they do that in the past, right? Like, for instance, in 1948, they found the Dead Sea Scrolls, and those ended up in some of the museums, but a lot of the Dead Sea Scrolls were then taken by the English and the Germans and put into private museums that rich people have. So they are editing. We know this, that some people in the past were editing religious artifacts and things about the religions that people would probably like to know today. And they were changing those things. That's what my book is about. Those of you on TikTok, that's what my book. You can see the words on my shirt. The reality about reality, returning to the old ways. Although I think it's backwards, and I got to figure out how to fix that over here. So you guys are probably reading it backwards. The reality about reality, returning to the old ways. Those of you that are on Facebook and YouTube, You guys know, you guys can see them on camera because they're right here behind me, but you guys on TikTok can't see them unless I move out of the way. There's a copy of my book. So you guys can take a look at that. The Reality About Reality, Returning to the Old Ways by me, Leonard O'Neill. I talk about that in that book, that there was a certain time in the past, thousands of years ago, starting 10,000 years ago, when literally the information that was out there, they decided to burn it all. And we don't know if they burned it to destroy it or they kept it for themselves and burned all the records. We do know that most of that stuff was left out and the Bibles were changed. We know that now because it was claimed to be that way and people didn't believe it. They said it was probably not true. And then you have groups like over in Ethiopia coming out with this Bible and saying this is the original Bible. And it has all those books in it that are actually there in the Dead Sea that we found in the Dead Sea in 1948 in the Dead Sea area. And we call them the Dead Sea Scrolls. Okay. How did I get my information? I am actually, Raven, I am actually a theologian. I have spent my entire life studying religion and spiritual scrolls from around the world. So the information that I'm telling you is the information that I have learned through scientific research and other people's scientific research from around the world that people have been doing for decades and thousands of years and researching these things, just like the Dead Sea Scrolls. I've read almost every Dead Sea Scroll that I can get my hands on. I have read every Dead Sea Scroll I can get my hands on. So truly, and I'm always looking for more scrolls. And I know people who went over to Ethiopia to investigate the Ethiopian Bible. The Eastern Orthodox Church from the far east of the world also has a Bible. And in those two Bibles, there are all these books, like 186 books that were removed at the Council of Nicaea in the year 934 AD. The Constantine, you guys probably know the name from the movie Constantine. Constantine decided to make the Roman Empire at that time Christian, but he said he wanted all the Bibles to be the same because there was too many different Bibles. So he brought in people from all over the world, all the churches from all over the world, and they had a conclave and they were deciding what was going to be in the Bible officially and everything else was going to be taken out. Well, they took out more books than are actually in the Bible currently, Old Testament and New Testament. Okay. The Hebrews will tell you that their Bible is different than what the Christians call the Old Testament. The Old Testament is supposed to be the Hebrew Bible that God gave Moses. The Hebrews will tell you that's not true. There's stuff that has been changed in that. It's very similar, but they say there's stuff that's been changed. So that what you know, if you're a Christian, what you know is the Old Testament is actually the Hebrew Bible. And that's been edited as well. So Constantine, back in the early, before the year 1000, had two conclaves and he edited out the Bible. And people didn't like that idea. So the Ethiopians left, took their Bible and went back to Ethiopia. The Ethiopian Christians and the Eastern Orthodox Church of the Roman Catholic Church went back to the East and said, we're not doing it either. And they refused to let them edit the Bible. They hid that fact for a long time. And then they started coming out recently in the last 4 or 5 years saying, we have a copy of this Bible that is original. When people went to look at that now, they're starting to do that. And I've talked to several of these people that have gone there. They're saying all the books that are in there are all of the Dead Sea Scrolls. So the Dead Sea Scrolls were hidden back in that time period, almost around the year 1000, in the Dead Sea area by a group of people called the Essenes. They were a sect in the church. They were monks in the Roman Catholic Church. Constantine had them all hunted down and killed. We know this from history. Constantine hunted them all down and killed them to stop them from taking that information, but they hid the stuff and they never found it. We didn't know any of that until 1948, when a couple of kids were guarding their father's sheep and they were bored while he went off to go and find a sheep in another valley. And they were bored and they were throwing rocks into caves and they heard pottery break and they didn't know what it was. So they jumped up and went in there and they found these scrolls in this pottery. They didn't know what they were. They couldn't read it. So they took it out and gave it to their dad. And at first their father didn't know what it was and just started burning it as firewood. True story. You can look that up. Then he realized there was words written on there. Stop doing that. And he took them to the museum, and the museum, of course, made him rich and bought them all from him. And then private collectors took some of them. So we have a bunch of them today, and they made them public to the world, and you can look them up. You can look up the Dead Sea Scrolls. You can look up the books of the Dead Sea Scrolls. And I was just listening to, if you know anything about the Bible, I was listening to the book of Daniel, which is still in the Bible. Thank you for whoever just did that. I think that was my wife that did that. Thank you for that. You guys smash those hearts if you're over there on TikTok. Smash those hearts for me. Let's get those hearts up, because that allows me to unlock things, the special features that TikTok makes us jump through. Okay. So, and I thank you guys for doing that. All right. Reese, did I say hello to you? I think I did. Welcome. So they edited some of this stuff out, and we found out about that in 1948. I was listening to Daniel yesterday, the book of Daniel in the Old Testament and in the Hebrew Bible. And in the book of Daniel, Daniel's one of the people that the Hebrews and everybody claim is telling prophecy to the world. Okay. So literally you have Daniel saying, I will tell you about this. It's in the book of truth. It's in the scroll of truth. The scroll of truth, the book of truth, is one of the scrolls that Constantine took out of the Bible. So Daniel from the Old Testament was talking about the scroll of truth, the book of truth. The book of truth, we now have a copy of it, and I've read that. And I understand why they took it out, because it doesn't paint the narrative that they were trying to paint. Okay, it tells you in there that there is one creator of the universe, and that creator is androgynous, not a man, not a woman, but neither sex or unisex. Okay, that's part of why they can't have it in there. All right, but it also paints things in a different light. You guys should read that, should read those scrolls. In those scrolls was the book of Mary and the book of Judas, the book of Jude, the book of Job, the book of James. Most of these books are not in the Bible anymore. They were taken out. All those books were not in the Bible anymore. They were taken out. So this is what I've done my entire life, is studied this stuff and researched this. This is what I do. Okay. And I talk about this stuff because people like Jesus, Mohammed, Lao Tzu, who wrote the Tao Te Ching, the Buddha, and everyone else for that matter, even the Viking religion, they're all telling you the exact same story. They're just telling it slightly different to fit whatever that pantheon is, that demographic, right? So the Vikings had Odin and Odin's wife Freyr, right? So you had a male and female equal god, goddess with a son, Thor, and the son of God is Thor. In the Hebrew Bible, you have the God Adonai, and the God Adonai's son is Jesus. Okay, they did the exact same things. Okay, people don't realize that. And I'm going to be doing I don't know how long it's going to take me to do it, but we're going to be working on this. My wife will working on compiling all of the people in history. There's at least 12 that we're aware of, but we think there's more like 16 or even more because of, and I'll get into that theology later. But there's 12 people in history that before Jesus did the exact same thing that Jesus did. So the reoccurring theme is that same Jesus character, okay? And people in the theological society believe that the soul that was Jesus, just like they think that the soul that was Hermes is the soul that was Thoth the Atlantean, could be the same soul. That all of those people that were all of those deities may be the same soul reoccurring on this planet. And the last time that person came here, they were known as Jesus. Okay. We're not 100% certain because we can't prove that it was the same soul, because the person never said, I am that person. Do you see? They never claimed to be, but they did say, like Jesus said, I am the Son of Man, not the Son of God. I am the Son of Man. Though they all said that over and over and over. Those were signs that were being foretold even in the Hebrew Bible. Okay. So if you guys have any other questions, like I said, please let me know that. So we haven't started, but I'm going to go ahead and start. We're on chapter 13 or book 13, tablet 13, 15, tablet 15. Let me check again. I got myself confused. Tablet 15. So it is the last tablet of the Emerald tablets. So you're getting here, those of you on TikTok are getting here about 10 weeks late, but we're going to be moving forward and doing other things today and in other times. So I am here to answer questions. That's the whole purpose of this, is education, to help you guys to maybe expand your consciousness or get you to start thinking for yourselves, or even just asking questions. Even if you don't believe me, you're asking questions. So I usually tell people, for those of you who are on TikTok, you may not know me, but everybody that's on YouTube and Facebook, they know me. I usually say, don't believe a word I've said. Go and look it up for yourself and research that stuff for yourself. Because I believe in what Socrates said, 4,500 years ago, 3,500 years ago, when he was here. He says, I can't make anyone believe anything. The only thing I can hope to do is to get you to start thinking for yourself. So I'm not trying to force you to believe anything. I'm not trying to sell you anything, except for maybe my book to pay the bills. But what I'm trying to do is to expand your consciousness and get you to then research and learn things on your own and start asking questions. Because if you want to get out of here and you don't want to be stuck here anymore, then the best thing you can do for yourself is to research religion, research spirituality, and don't fall into the trap of my religion is the right way because it's the one that I learned when I was a kid and it's the only way and it's the one that I'll have to kill you if you're on any other religion. You need to open up and expand your mind to the possibility that truly all the religions are identical except for the semantical things. They're identical in the message that the original person was teaching, and the way of that message and the way that they were teaching you is identical. What changed is when people got a hold of it and started adding laws to it. You got to walk 3 paces or 5 paces behind your husband. You can't cut your hair. You can't eat pork, or you can't eat flowers, or you can't say the name of the god, or you can't draw a picture of the god. Otherwise, you'll get killed for all those things. Those are things that didn't come from God, and they're not written in the places where God said this stuff. That was things that people said God said was detestable or whatever. Now, I'm not saying that some religions don't claim that, because some do, because religions are religions, and I can't say that all of them are exactly the same when it comes to that, but they all have their own semantical things that are variations of the story. Like I was pointing out, in the Hebrew religion, the Muslim religion, and the Christian religion, there is only one God, and it's a man. Okay. But in the Roman religions, there were many gods. In the Greek religions, there was many gods. In the Viking religion, there was many gods. So in most of the religions around the world, except for the big 3, there were many gods. But in some of the Celtic religions, there was a female goddess, and the male god was not immortal, or the male god died every year and was reborn every year. So but the story was still the same. There was still a savior character that was the son of these creators of the world. Even if you look at the oldest scroll that they claim is the oldest scroll, the Mesopotamian scroll, the Enuma Elish, you had a male god and a female god, and then 3 sons. And the sons killed their father because he was mad at them because they wouldn't let him sleep. So he said he was going to kill them. Mom said to them, Dad's going to kill you. So they killed Dad. Mom got mad, killed them. Now Mom's evil in the eyes of the rest of the gods and the humans. And they started sending gods to kill her because she's evil now, because she took revenge and killed her 3 sons. And eventually they had to send Marduk, who was her grandson or her great-grandson. And he got elevated. He was down in human form, and he got elevated to God status. And he was able to kill Tiamat. That's the dragon, Tiamat the dragon of the North Sea that that Thor had to fight, the serpent in the garden that Jesus had to fight. He defeats her, and then he gets elevated to God status, head God status. So it's the same fall to human form with no powers, proving yourself, and then getting your immortality back, and then rising up and going into heaven. Muhammad went through the same. Jesus went through the same. So Thor went through the same. Marduk went through the same. That is the same thing that happens in all the religions on that vision quest or hero quest or savior quest. That is the example of the way to get to heaven. So these are the things that theologians learn when we start studying religion, the similarities. And then academia gets you caught as a theologian chasing your tail by saying, well, then that story, that religion must have been borrowed from these other older religions, so you need to go and investigate that. And that leads you to then going, well, that was borrowed from somebody else. Well, then let's go and find that. And then that leads you, and it continues to lead you. And today it's led people back to the Mesopotamian Enuma Elish, and they say that that must have been, the Enuma Elish must be the oldest scroll. But when you when you research, because the Mesopotamian people are gone, when you research that, you find out that they claim that was a scroll that came from Arcadia. That's the Greek people. They were Greeks. So then when you go to the Greeks, they say, well, we did have that scroll, but it wasn't ours. We got it from the Egyptians. Then when you go to Egyptology and you say this scroll came from the Greeks, that was the Mesopotamian, they go, that's not our scroll. That came from a society that was here before us. So that society has been gone for 77,000 years. Okay. It was a pre-dynastic societal structure that was not Egypt, not an Egypt structure. But then they say it had to do with Thoth the Atlantean. So you have Hermes teaching that. And then he was equated with Thoth the Atlantean, and people believe that he was because Thoth, when they found the emerald tablets, so some people say the emerald tablets are made up. Okay, it doesn't mean that they were. If they were made up, let's say they were. I talked about this last week on my show. If they were made up, then the person who made it up copied it from everything else, or the person was brilliant. And here's the thing: if you read these scrolls from around the world, all of the Bibles. If you read all of the religions side by side and take away the semantical laws for humans, what was the message that the person was sending? What was the message and what was that way? Taoism, Buddhism, Hinduism, Sikhism, the Christian way, the Viking way, all of those religions from around the world are teaching the same way, the same thing. They're teaching you that there was a God, a creator of the universe, and that God had a son, and that son was sent down to earth to do something. That son was sent down to earth and was no longer immortal and was sent to earth to die for the people of earth and then get resurrected to learn humility or to deliver love. That changes slightly, but the mission was the same: die and be resurrected and then come back to heaven and bring people with you back to heaven. Be it through spirituality, be it through the way, or be it through physicality. They all did the same thing, and then they reascended to their version of the word heaven, Elysium, Valhalla, the halls of Amenti, whatever that religion is, right? So then people come in and learn that. In fact, I'm sorry, I'm looking on the scroll over here on TikTok, and it looks like, is that Eddie that's in here? Yeah, Eddie, welcome, brother. That it says invite Star Knowledge, right? Star Knowledge podcast is Eddie Hensley, buddy of mine. Eddie, welcome, brother. He's over there on TikTok in the thing. Maybe I should have Eddie come on here and we could talk about religion. Eddie, I'm doing the emerald tablets. So if you're interested, brother, I can pull you up here, and I'm going to be playing the emerald tablets. I'm live on TikTok, but I'm also live on YouTube and Facebook. So if you want to come in, let me know. Because I'm doing the last tablet of the emerald tablets right now, so we can play that. You guys can hear that on the screen. But Eddie, if you want to come in and talk and you have some time, let me know, brother, and we'll pull you up in the crowd there, and then you guys can listen to it over here on YouTube and Facebook. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and do a sound check on Facebook. For those of you who are watching on Facebook and YouTube, you guys are going to see the emerald tablets up on your screen. Those of you on TikTok, you're just going to hear the words. Okay, so I will be quiet during that time period. And if there's any comments, let me know. Right. And yeah, thank you for that. Raven said, Raven commented and said, I think you just had it up on the screen. I don't believe that was the original plan. Do you mean from, specify that a little bit. Do you mean you don't believe that was the original plan from God to do all that? Or you believe that wasn't the original plan of the people, that the hero characters that came down to earth? I would love to hear your take on what you think, what you were talking about there, what you meant, I think there. Sorry about this. I'm going to turn on my fan a little bit because it's warm in this room that I'm in. So you guys might hear that. If it gets too loud, let me know and I'll turn it off. Because I'm wearing, it's pretty warm over here. Okay, so for those of you on YouTube and Facebook, until Raven lets me know, you said I don't believe it was the original plan. So let me know what you meant by that, please. Jesus came to teach obedience, not religion. No, he didn't come to teach a religion. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. If that's what you were talking about, 100%. Jesus, none of these people came here to teach a religion. Okay, let me put myself back up on full screen on the other channels. None of these people came here to teach a religion. Jesus did not want it to be a religion. Neither did Lao Tzu, who taught the way that became the deity, the Taoism. Neither did the Buddha. None of these people in history came here to create a religion. They came down to literally create a way for individuals to make their way back to heaven. So the plan was not to do anything. It was embodiment is what you were saying. I apologize for reading that wrong. So Jesus came to teach embodiment, not religion. Exactly. They all did. They were showing the way of, say, the dark night of the soul, the sacrifice, the way of moving from that to heaven, or to back to God, or whatever it is that you know as that place. They were teaching the way to get back there, not trying to teach an orthodox religion. You're absolutely 100% right. That is not what they were here to do. They were trying to teach a way, and then it was corrupted by humans. Sorry, you guys saw my wife in the background walking by. She's opening windows because I'm warm over here, and opening the door here to turn the fan on. So they were teaching to bring heaven to earth. Yes, they were teaching the way to ascend to heaven and the way to bring that here, because when people ask, what is the function of this third dimensional place? Okay, what is this place here for? Okay, let's stay away from religion altogether. What is the third dimension that we're involved in? What is this place's function? The function of this place, what's happening here is that God, the creator of the universe, is becoming conscious of itself in this place through us. As we become conscious of ourselves as an immortal spirit, as an immortal soul, we are making this place heaven on earth, like you were talking about. Okay. When I was talking to a rabbi, and we were having this very conversation. The rabbi was playing the God's advocate, and I was playing the humans asking the question of God. What are we here to do? Right. And God said, the rabbi said to me, I have given you a house and you're supposed to make it a home. Okay. So even some of the Hebrews know the answer to that. Okay. So, and 3D part of, you have 3D, the life. This is the beast. Raven says 3D is survival. Absolutely. It is. If you're living in the flesh, 3D is survival. 3D is life. It's living, it's dying, it's learning what it means to be alive. And to be alive, you have to have death. To be living, you have to have non-living. So to live, you have to survive in this place to understand what life is. So third dimension was created for that. Let's start over and let me explain to you how things are working here. We don't even have to get into the Emerald Tablets right now. Okay. So this place was created. You say you're a soul that was created by the creator of the universe. Okay. You come in as a plant or a bird or a dog or a cat or a rock or air or water or whatever. That's a one-dimensional or a two-dimensional being. You come in as a one-dimensional being. This wall was wood at one point. This glass was sand at one point. You know what I mean? This plastic was oil at one point. Everything has life. Everything is alive until it's not, until something happens and it's not alive. This glass is constantly moving. It's still actually alive, but we have melted it and put it into this lens and then polished it so that I can see through them. But it's still sand, right? And if you break it down into particles, the glass will eventually turn back into beads of sand, just like plastic will break down into smaller pieces. That's life. Everything is life. Everything is alive. Then you become self-aware. Okay. When you become self-aware as a cat or dog or a tree or whatever, at the end of that life, when you are self-aware, then you on this planet will become a human. Okay. Then you're born in here. Now you have to survive, right? Now you have to survive on here and you have to learn what's going on. So you have to live now. You have to figure out how to feed yourself, learn those things, to learn the process of the world, all those things. So it's kindergarten through 12th grade, general education as a soul. In that time of going through all of those classes and courses, as above, so below, okay? Yes, so Al says, religious scrolls and Thoth ask about ancient texts. Yeah, so AI is popping up and wanting, because I mentioned that AI is popping up and wanting me to ask about that. That's funny. Okay, so literally once you become self-aware, then you're here, okay? So you said, I don't agree with that. Coming as a tree is a choice, as are all of them. Well, not yes and no, not necessarily. Here in this place, everything is a choice. Okay. On this planet, in this scenario, everything is a choice. I came through at one time. I was a tree. Another time I was a dog. I came through to go from 0 all the way up. Some people don't, and they weren't from here, and they're not indigenous to here. Most of the people on this planet today, the soul that is inside your bodies, 86% of all the souls that are here did not go to first dimension and second dimensional beingness on this earth. Okay. 86% of the people that are here came from another planet and came to this planet because this was the closest planet that sustained third dimensional life forms. So they came here. Some of the people that are here are from Mars. Some of the people that are here are from Maldek. Some of the people that are here are from other places that came here because this place was at, and they're mind wiped and they don't know it. Some of them wake up and do that. So everyone who's here on this earth, you're absolutely right. Choice. And I tell people that all the time. This isn't happening to you. This is all happening for you. But the truth is none of this is happening. It just thinks it is. Now I'm going way up in 6D thinking. Okay. So ordinarily on a regular planet in third dimension, this would be a place where people would just go to because, like I was saying, because they were going to a third dimensional planet. Okay. So yes, most of the people, well, 86% of the people, Raven, I'm talking to Raven over here. You guys can't see the chat over there on Facebook and YouTube. You guys should hop in onto TikTok and you can see that. 86% of the people that are here came here on purpose to go through this scenario. The other ones volunteered to go through this scenario, but the other 14% are going through the scenario. They decided to come here, but they're going from 0 up to go through this scenario. So 100% of all the souls that are here volunteered to be here. Okay. Some places it's you volunteer to start out, but you don't volunteer to come to a place this hard. This is one of those places that's ultra stuck. It's really hard. There's only one other Woo Rider, welcome over there on YouTube. There's only one other place in the Milky Way galaxy that's this hard as this Earth. That's Terra. So people that are here came here because they wanted to go through this. That's why if you look at the population explosion from 1981 or 1984, we had like 2.7 billion people, and now we have 8 billion people. That's like 40 years, right? We have like 8 billion more, we have 6 billion more people on the earth in that time period. And then if you go backwards from 1984 to 2,000 years ago, we only gained about 1.5 billion people in 2,000 years. But in 40 years, we gained 6 billion people, right? So that's why we're shifting. Yes, well, we're shifting because it's because now it's time, right? Raven said that's why we're shifting. It's shifting because it's time. This place got stuck. It's already stuck real hard. Then evil people came here and gave information to the people here, and they made it more stuck. Okay, so then some of us came here specifically to help restore the balance and unstick this place. I'm one of those people. There are a lot of us. Okay, there are some people that are in different coalitions. You probably heard of them. You have the Coalition of Planets that's up there, the Council of Planets that's up there, Galactic Council. I figured that, Raven, because you seem to know what you were talking about. Raven said, me too. You seem to know what you're talking about. So that's why I keep focusing on you, because you seem to know what you're talking about. So I came, my wife, myself. There's a bunch of us that came. We're in a coalition. Our coalition boots on the ground. We're in part of a council. Our coalition is the Orion Coalition of Light. Our council is the Orion Council of Light, and we're part of the Galactic Council. Okay, but our group came here chasing the bad guys who came from the Orion area where they were messing around there, and we kicked them out of there, and we ended up following them here. You guys know them as the Anunnaki. They came here and took over this planet and 22 other third dimensional planets in this sector of the Milky Way galaxy. And we came here and kicked their ass out of here. We're the Patal. We came here, we kicked their ass out of here, and they ran towards the center of the Milky Way galaxy on their conquest. And there's some of our people following them, island hopping, defeating them, and they're running away, and then they're refreeing the population. This place was already really super stuck because it's a college that is harder to get out of, and you have to volunteer to get here because it's really hard. So those of you listening around the world know this. You volunteered for this. You're not trapped here as a prisoner. You weren't taken from somewhere else against your will. You said, yeah, that's a great course. I'll take it. It's super hard. I'll do it. Okay. You volunteered for this. You just don't remember it because of the veiling. You were mind wiped. You're veiled, and you don't get to know it until you wake up and get the downloads and learn it. Okay. So we freed them physically from being down here and got rid of those. Okay. got rid of those people. They all took off running. But then they had changed stuff down here and made it harder and gave the people down here, the ones, the 1%ers, whatever you want to call them, there's 14% of the population that are evil. Of that 14% that's evil, there's that 1% that owns everything, thinks they own everything. They got the knowledge from the bad guys, from the Anunnaki, what you guys know as the Anunnaki. I hate that because the Anunnaki doesn't actually exist the way you think that it does, which is okay because it's a catch-all phrase. They gave them this information, and they've been using that to eradicate history, change things in the Bibles, keep everybody stuck. So some of us came down here, Raven, it seems like, is one of them. And some of you that are tuning in this audience and over here around the world hearing my voice, you came here for the same thing. You just may not know it yet. You may not be awake enough. Okay. So what is it that Jeff says? Jeff says, I don't remember saying that. You don't remember saying that you volunteered to come down here? That's funny, right? If that's what you're saying, brother. I don't remember saying that. So, you wouldn't, because you get mind wiped when you get here. Okay. So that's part of the process for you to have an organic experience of life, living, surviving, like Raven was saying, surviving, living a true organic experience of life. You can't remember that you're an immortal soul. Okay. Because if you remember, there was a time, you don't remember this, but there was a time before the veiling when everybody knew that they were a piece of God, part of God. Everybody sat down and were like, surfer guys from California smoking dope going, dude, you're God, I'm God, we're all God. And they were sitting there smoking pot, you're God, I'm God. We'll get back to God when we get there, bro. So God said, wow, I'm lazy. I created all of these people and they're in my image and they're lazy, right? So they literally decided, the creator said, we got to change something, okay? Raven said, I know that I didn't come here for the earth experience. Well, you more than likely, Raven, you didn't come here for the experience. You came here to help. I believe that you did. You're all one of those people who you didn't come here but while you're here, you might as well experience it. So I'm sure you're brushing up on a few things while you're here, but you didn't come here for the experience. Like me, you came here to help people, to fix the place, to restore the balance, and to get things back in order so that these people could have their way of doing that stuff, right? So, and Brooke, that's my wife, Brooke O'Neill, who said, at Raven, me too, lovely. She came here. She didn't come here to experience this. She came here to help restore the balance and fix things, just like you. Her and I have been together on this earth for at least 30 lifetimes already that we've really looked into. We haven't looked at some of our lives yet because and we just discovered another one that we were in the 1940s in the United States. Okay. So, building bridges, repairing girds, heal. Yeah, actually, right? For real. So literally fixing because they came here and they screwed up the timeline. They messed up the planet flipped over on its axis and now it's still crooked. It's not back upright. It's still wobbling. And as it's, getting back upright, as we're fixing the planet, we're restoring the ley lines, the energy lines of the planet, healing the planet and moving it back upright. And that's changing as the people of the earth become less evil and the fall of man, the fall of the human race is waning, and we're getting out of the warlike energy and we're moving into the energy of the feminine energy that's more loving and caring. It doesn't mean that all men are becoming, thank you, Raven, for that. Doesn't mean that all men are becoming women. It doesn't mean that, that women are becoming more masculine like men. It's a spiritual thing where people are becoming less self-serving and evil and becoming more in service to others and getting that balance set up. Okay. So at AI is trying to pop up. It says on my screen, it says souls, earth, and Anunnaki discuss origins and purpose. Yeah, not doing that with AI because AI has been programmed by the people who are trying to convince you that the Anunnaki are your gods and they created you to mine gold for them. Not true. It's just not true. Okay. So the Anunnaki doesn't even exist. There isn't a race of people called the Anunnaki. That was a wrongful translation. Zachariah Sitchin was trying to teach himself. He had the scrolls, the Enuma Elish. He was trying to read them, and he was trying to translate the scrolls. Okay. And he saw the word Anu, skipped over the word Na, didn't know what it meant, and saw the word Ki. And he thought the word Ki means comes, and the Anu he thought was the god Anu, the Akkadian god, the Greek god Anu. and he thought that was Anu, God Anu comes. Skipped over the word na altogether, didn't translate it at all, kept it as silent letters. N-A as silent letters, okay? Yeah, right? No, yes, it is. Yes, thank you, Raven. I love that, Raven, and I'm going to tell the whole world that because I like that. And Raven says, the AI is now the modern-day Ouija board, 100%. Don't play with AI unless you know what you're doing. You're going to get an evil spirit telling you lies. True story. I love your analogy. I'm going to use that, and I'm going to give you credit because I hadn't heard it. I hadn't thought of it that way until you said it. I'm going to tell people on air that, and I'm going to say, Raven, someone who followed me, and I hope you're friending me because we need to talk more. It said this: AI is the modern day Ouija board. No joke. Okay, so literally, I don't even know where I was. You totally threw me off track with saying that. I love it. Okay. So literally, 1948, Zachariah Sitchin's trying to translate those scrolls, the Mesopotamian scrolls. So he's trying to teach himself the language, and he sees Anu, thinks that it was the god Anu, the Greek god, and the word ki, and thinks it meant the Greek god Anu came to Earth. Okay. Scholars since then, and then the Ancient Aliens people, who I am friends with, because I created Ancient Aliens Worldwide on Facebook. It's the largest Ancient Aliens group on the face of the earth, especially on Facebook around the world. There's over 300,000, unless we keep getting some deleted. 300,000 members worldwide. I own that. I'm not there. I have a group of people, a great Mandy Wilson is a great curator. She is running that entire platform and has a great team of people that are their admins and moderators that are taking care of that and have been for 5 or 6 years taking care of that for me. I was just discussing that with Brooke, my wife, who's in the audience, last night. So they're taking care of that for us. But I'm friends with all those people from Ancient Aliens. Back in 2017, a bunch of us broke away from that and started going down the road of spirituality. That's why you saw like Dr. Stephen Greer start moving into talking about spirituality, and you saw a bunch of other people doing that. At the time, a lot of people were moving away from aliens because we realized they're not going to ever give you any information. But we still have the platforms up, and we're still teaching that because it helps people to start thinking for themselves and expand their consciousness. Zachariah Sitchin said that in 1948, Giorgio Tsoukalos, the owner of Prometheus, the producer of History Channel's Ancient Aliens, working with History Channel, which is owned by Disney Corporation, they're trying to get ratings. He said in 2012, he said the god Anu came down to Earth, and that was the proof that aliens had been here before. That was the translation from Zachariah Sitchin. Not too long after that, the scholars, theologians, found the dictionary of Mesopotamian language and translated all of their stuff completely, but they still tell you on Ancient Aliens, they don't have it translated. So then that was in 2012. In 2015, Giorgio Tsoukalos on another episode then took the liberty to say, those from the heavens came is what the Anunnaki meant. So in 2015, Giorgio Tsoukalos invented a species called Anunnaki on one of the episodes. Those from the heavens came. Now they became a species called the Anunnaki. Okay. And that's exactly, now they're a species called the Anunnaki, and that's exactly what everybody is selling today. They added it to the pantheon of the Mesopotamian people, and the Mesopotamian and the scholars have not added Anunnaki on there because the word Anunnaki didn't mean a species, and it didn't mean the god Anu. The actual translation of that word Anunnaki was Anunna, next word, ki. Anunna means sub-god, means prince or king came to town, not a god from heaven. Anu was the word god that they were using. Anu, na meant junior god, demigod, not a god from space, not the god creator, but a prince came to town. Okay. You can look that up in actual scholars. Stay away from fringe people that translate that. So the word Anunnaki that everybody's using as a species actually means the prince came to town and taught us stuff. Somebody wise came to town, not from outer space. Okay. And I'm one of those people that I'm actually from outer space, not this physical body. Okay. But I'm from outer space. So is Raven. So is my wife, Brooke, and probably some of you in this audience. Some of you may not know that. Okay. But some of you may actually know that. Hold on. I got to do my due diligence and move the puzzle piece so they don't think that I'm a robot. Okay. So now I'm staying live. Okay. So I had to move the little puzzle piece so that I'm not a robot, so I can stay live on TikTok. So please, if you're on TikTok, slam those hearts for me and subscribe to me. Don't forget to subscribe to me. Follow me. Hit the button so you know when I go live, because I'll be doing this live, and I'll probably be doing it at the same time, and I'll be in the studio next week, and I'll probably be doing it there, and then I'll probably go live on my phone for YouTube or something and then share that out. Chances are I'm going to start sharing this live to Facebook and to YouTube, and then I'll back it up. I'll take the live from TikTok because I'll record it in the studio when I'm on the studio right now. I'm just on my phone. I'll record it in the studio, and then I'll actually put it on live on. I'll put it on YouTube so you guys can watch it on YouTube afterwards. Okay, and then I cut out the MP3 file, and that goes worldwide on the MP3 file. But those of you who are used to listening to me on a podcast, you know that. So those of you who are here on TikTok, if you want to catch up on my past episodes of the show Orion Rising, that's my show. You can look up the Orion Rising anywhere you listen to podcast, and you'll see that it's actually I don't have a picture to show you. I'd pull it up on my screen. It's actually the Giza Plateau, the pyramids at night with the constellation of Orion in the sky. And it says Orion Rising and has my name on there, Leonard O'Neill. I have a book that I wrote about that. And then I have the podcast that I've been doing since 2017, since 2016. And I also have a book called, and it's backwards on the screen right now, I'll have it up on the screen next week, The Reality About Reality, Returning to the Old Ways. As I turn my phone trying to show it to you, I bump into the cord. I'm trying to move out of the way so you can see it right there. Those of you who are watching on MTV or YouTube, you can see it right there. You guys should, there's a link to it in my bio. If there's not, you can just Google that. The Reality About Reality, Returning to the Old Ways is a subtitle by Leonard O'Neill. Talks about this very subject. Okay, so I literally go through all the scrolls in history from every religion, and if I find one, someone says, did you ever read this scroll? No. Do you have a link to it? Do you have an actual scroll that I can go and, I can buy the book or something from a library or online? Or is there a scroll online that I can read or listen to audio? And that's what I do. You can ask my wife. She's in the audience. She'll tell you I'm a nerd. When if she's at work and I'm at home, she'll call me, what are you doing? I'll tell her I've been listening to scripture or talking to people about that, right? So if you go on the podcast is audio only. It's MP3, Raven. But if you want to watch the MP4, you can go onto my YouTube channel under my name, Leonard O'Neill. And I have, I think, the last 500 episodes. I don't have the first 500 episodes on there. I got deplatformed by Google 3 years ago, and they deleted more than 500 of my episodes off the channel because I was talking like this. And then Facebook now does the same thing. So back in May of this year, they gave everybody, I had over 1,000 shows on backed up on Facebook. And then they said, we're going to delete all of your episodes. So now they only keep them for like a week or two on Facebook, and they delete them. So the only backup I have is on the MP3 broadcast, which I pay Podbean for. So if you want to, but you can go anywhere. And all of the episodes that I put up on Podbean and Spreaker are on the MP3 file all over the world, but it's only about almost 600 now. I think this will be my 600th episode or close to it that you'll be able to listen to. So there's 400 episodes of my podcast that are no longer available because they got deleted. So you'll have to take a look, right? I have a friend who would eat this for breakfast. Joseph, who was also a priest, he channels Source now. I also channel. I was channeling Thoth live at an event 2 months ago. This month I was actually channeling my higher self. So I do a lot of channeling. I channel a lot of people. So I would love to talk to him as well. If he channels Source, I would love to have a conversation. I'll bet if he's Joseph, is he an ex-Hebrew priest, or is he a Catholic priest? Because you used the word priest. So let me know the answer to that. I'm really drawn to Thoth. Well, this is why I was doing the Thoth thing, because Thoth, the Atlantean, was literally telling the same story about how to get out of here. And that's why I was covering the Emerald Tablets. And we're doing the Emerald Tablet 15. So I haven't finished that. I was going to finish it today. So if you want to, so I would like to start it, and then we can hear the Emerald Tablet 15. You guys won't be able to see it on TikTok, but you'll be able to hear it. And everybody else on the MP4 broadcast, everywhere else, will get to see the visuals on the screen, so you can see the words as it's happening. Because I kind of want to finish it today, right? I believe I've spent time with him. There's a few of us who have. So that's a conversation that you and I should have off camera, because if we talk about too much of that on here, they'll boot us off camera. So because of what that's about. So yeah, that's just, yeah, there's a lot of other things in history that are the same. When you look back at history to the other prophets that have been here over and over doing the same thing, right? So, and if you're awake enough, then you would know that, right? Yeah, there's my wife talking to you. She said, yeah, we should do a video chat. Maybe after the show today, if you have time, Raven, maybe we can call on like Messenger and do a video chat and talk for a little bit. That would be really cool. But I would love to hear from Joseph as well. If Joseph channels, I also channel. I'm not doing it currently right now. I could easily channel myself right now, and that would kind of freak people out a little bit. Not really, because I look like me, you know what I mean. But I could easily channel Kelto in a second, because I do that. I'm in Kelto most of the time. Because I know that I am not the pain body. I am not this physical flesh. I know that I am not the ego. I am not the conscience. I am the experiencer, the crafter of this logos. I am Kelto. That is my higher self's name. So yeah. So, but when I do that, most of the time I don't tell people about that when I do it, because it kind of freaks some people out when I do. But I've been doing it live. I did it live just 2 weeks ago now. Yeah, 2 weeks ago now. It wasn't last Sunday. It was the Sunday before that. And you can see those videos. I have them up on my channel here. The one that I did in Gosford over here is on my TikTok channel. You can watch it. There's a couple small videos, and then there's the whole hour that I did. I was supposed to do 2 hours, but if you listen, there was a band playing in the background that was around the corner where our stage was, and I moved it. We moved the stage. My wife was able to move the stage and get me a microphone. Yeah, please link me to Joseph, because if he spent a long time studying this as well, I would love to talk. If he's a theologian, if he's a priest and probably a theologian, I bet he's spent his life learning about this stuff as well. Because I did. I went from the time I was like 4 years old. I was in a Merlin school learning the 18 lessons of Merlin, and then later the 22 lessons of Merlin. I have a Merlin title. And then I was in, I was baptized Roman Catholic and knighted by the Roman Catholic Church. So I have a Sir title, and then I went to the Universal Life Church in Phoenix, Arizona, and got my ministry for the Christian ministry in 2016 through them. So I have a Merlin title that I got when I was 19. I'm also a Jedi Knight in over here, because I'm in Australia. Over in the New Zealand, they have a Jedi temple, and I'm registered as a Jedi Knight in their temple over here in New Zealand. If the temple's still there, but they told me that it was still alive and operational. So I'm listed as a Jedi Master, Jedi Knight, Merlin, Christian minister, and 2 religions. So I have 4 religious titles that have the same title. And then I've studied my entire life, literally since I was like 4, studying religion, philosophy, history, military history of this planet, because I came here to help these people. And and like Sun Tzu said, to defeat an enemy, you have to know that you know thy enemy to defeat an enemy. And if you want people to follow you, you have to learn how to lead them, and to lead them, you have to learn how to follow them. That's in the art of war. So I literally had to know how this matrix works. So I came in and joined the matrix, and went from 0 to 3D. And in this life, I'm completely unveiled. I've been unveiled. I remember being in the womb. I remember the moment of conception when my soul entered the womb and entered into the body that is now Leonard. Okay. I remember being in that nice warm pool, and I remember talking to my mother. If she were still alive, she could tell you this conversation. Talking to my mother and telling her that I needed her to read scientific information. I needed to read history. I needed to read science. I needed to read that stuff. And she didn't understand why. She just knew that she had to read everything that she could find. She didn't even understand what she was reading, and she was reading it because I was educating myself in the womb. I remember going through the birth canal. Doesn't feel good. Kind of hurts. Going through the birth canal squeezes your head, right? So I remember that. Then I remember, that's Joseph too. Okay, right. Right. Then I remember my first steps. I remember the first time I pooped. I remember the very first time I could reach up as a little boy and just flick the light switch on my tippy toes to turn the light on in the bathroom. I remember all of that. I remember everything in this life. And I was awake even then. And my father, when he realized I was awake, I was about 4. And he said, the first rule of Fight Club is you don't talk about Fight Club. That's not what he literally said, because I'm too young for that. I'm too old for that. I mean, I was, that came out in like the 90s or whatever that was. But he said, you can't tell people what you know. You cannot talk about this in front of other people. This is something that you can't tell your friends at school. You can't tell the principal. You can't tell your teachers. I don't even know if you should be telling your brother and sister. We'll have to find that out. You can talk to me about this because I understand what you're saying. And I know, because he was awake, right? But he said, you got to not tell everybody because you're young, you're little, in the society that we live in. I lived in America at the time. I was born in America. They'll take you from me and they'll put you in the system. When I was 11, the federal government, the military of the United States, came and tried to recruit me at my school. True story. Okay. 11 years of age, there's a knock on the door. I always tell this story to people. 11 years of age, knock on the door in my classroom. There was a woman in a hospital smock gown with a clipboard asking for me. I came out with that woman. I was told I was one of the special kids that was going to be tested. We went out to the back where the playground was, which was behind the school where nobody could see. And there was a Winnebago, a big freaking motorhome. And there was other kids, like 30 of us from that school. And we were all lined up. We were told not to talk. And we all had one person who was a controller. And most of them were women in lab coats. And we were only to whisper in that person's ear. We went in there and there were cubicles lined up. We had to put on a headset, stare at the cubicle, and the cubicle came out so that nobody could see what I was doing. And they weren't able to look when they moved from cubicle to cubicle. And the kids had to stand there. And one kid went into the cubicle. And when he moved to the next one, the next kid moved into the one that he was in. It went all the way around. And then you were escorted back to class. I did all these things. And then I was escorted back to class. And then the next day, there was a knock at my door at school. And when the door opened, it was a military, I think he was a lieutenant in the military or a captain in the Air Force. And he was there to get me and escort me to the principal's office. When I went to the principal's office, the principal was out in the waiting room with the entire staff looking at me like, whoo. And I walk over and they open up the door of the principal's office. And my father was taken from his job and he was in the principal's office with a general and 2 colonels from the U.S. Air Force. And they were recruiting me at 11 years of age to defend the frontier against Zur and the Khodan Armada. At 11 years of age, they wanted me to sign an NDE and join their junior military, and then I would be a lieutenant or a captain by the time I was 18 years of age and go into the military, and I was going to work for them, the deep state, and I could not know what I was going to do until after I said yes, and then I could never tell anyone, and I had to sign a non-disclosure agreement, and I asked them if I could have a time to talk to my father about it. The next day they came back, and I told them no, and they were really mad at me. And they spent from that day until I was 27 years of age trying to recruit me every other freaking week, just about wherever I was. I'd be at a shopping mall and 2 guys would walk up to me from the Department of the Navy and try to recruit me. You ready to join us? How come you're here? Well, how do you know I was here? You just randomly picked me? No, we were given your name. You're Leonard O'Neill, right? Yeah, we were given your name and specifically told that you were going to be here. So they knew where I was and they sent people to come and do that. So true story. So I told them no. And then by the time I was in college, which I went through high school in 2 years, I graduated from high school and was doing college work by the time I was a junior in college. Or in high school, I was already in my second year of college doing the work. And I got bored with that. So I took the GED so I could get out and go to college. And I went to 2 colleges at the same time. Then I realized deep state was the deep state was the deep state. And I decided that I wasn't going to work for them because I was in physics. I have 2 nephews right now that are geniuses, and one of them is working for the deep state. I don't know what he's doing, but he is, and his brother is probably not going to work for them, but who knows? He might. He seems to be smarter than the older boy. So yeah. Yes, they are. Raven said, yeah, they're probably still watching you. Yes, they are. I was told that I have people from more than one government. I used to work for governments too, by the way. I worked with the U.S. government, with the English government, and with the Irish government, but not under this name. They don't even know what name I worked for them. They didn't even know that I was working for them, that it was me, because I was under 2 different aliases, actually 4 different aliases, depending on the country. And I used to work for them because I was setting up coalitions to actually help the people of this earth and infiltrate into and find the people in these governments that didn't like the evil people that were running it, and get them connected with one another and compartmentalize all of that networking. And that's going on around the world even today. I'm not the only one that was doing that. There was many of us that were doing that. We found each other and then did that. And we're still doing that today, helping everybody here with that information. And And if Peter were here, he would tell you that because he usually pops in, he's probably still sleeping or he's about to go to bed, so he doesn't know that I'm on here. In fact, Brooke, you should have shared this with Peter. He doesn't know that I'm live. He would be in here saying the same thing, right? He's over in Ireland. So literally, they tried to recruit me and they were chasing me around and they pay attention. And I was told that I have, while I'm on air like this, I have at least 2, maybe 3 governments that watch everything that I say. And I proved that at one point that the Department of the Navy and the Department of the Air Force were getting every information of every text and everything that I sent. And that there was people off-world that were also watching. Okay. And I know that there's people off-world watching because I have a whole team of people that are off-world. So I know they were watching, but I was told that there's also evil people off-world that are watching what I'm saying. Okay. And Raven says, my life has been a total contrast to yours. That's funny, right? But see, I came here to do what I'm doing. I just literally said to Brooke earlier this morning, when we were talking, that I said, you have to realize that I spent the first 40 years of my life trying to hide undercover from the world. Okay. And I was I had to be in a capacity where you forgot me and never knew that I was even there. Okay. And okay, Raven said, I just got interrupted. I'll be back. So literally I was trying to hide and be inconspicuous so that if I walked through a room, you wouldn't remember I was there. If you had a conversation with me at a party, you wouldn't remember me. You wouldn't remember my face. You wouldn't remember who I was. You wouldn't even remember my name. Okay. I did that for more than 40 years of my life. By the time I was 45, I was realizing that it was time to start doing what I'm doing. Okay. So by 2016, I started doing what I'm doing now. I started having a voice. So we're only almost 10 years away from me hiding completely from the world all the time. And my instincts, because of all my training and my instincts, were to be undercover and to hide. And now I'm blatantly saying what I'm saying to the world. Okay. So it took me a while that the people upstairs, there's Peter. Welcome, brother. There's Peter from Ireland. Welcome. I was like, where's Peter? How come nobody pinged him yet? He should know that I'm here. Welcome, brother. So he should know I'm live. Welcome in. I think I have you listed as a moderator, Pete. If you don't, I'm going to make you a moderator like Brooke. Okay. I think I already told you. Yeah, you're already listed as a moderator, brother. So just know that you and Brooke both have, so you guys can pop up stuff on the screen, but you can also deal with people if they're, if they're whatever, you know what I mean? So yes, thank you. So literally, I know that there are people that are up there, and now I'm saying this stuff, and I was afraid. And Pete, who just showed up, he's been prodding me since 2016, telling me it's time for me to start going live and talking about this information and getting this stuff out to the world, because we've moved into that phase of things around the world that we're supposed to be telling people who we are. And I resisted that. Peter's here to tell you that. He'll tell you I resisted him from 2016 until 2020. For 4 years, I was like, nope. Even though I wrote a couple of books back in 2016, I was still staying anonymous. They were under my name, under this name, but I was still not doing this. Then I came out and I started interviewing and producing shows like this and interviewing people, but I was still not teaching anymore. And I used to do that when I was younger. I used to teach. Then I decided it was time to get back to start teaching again. Sorry, who was that? Oh, that's my wife posting something in the other chats. So then I decided it was time to start teaching again, and that we were going to go into this next phase. We knew that was happening this year. Okay. So we knew that it was time to go into the next phase of that. And Peter's been telling me for years now that it was time to move into that next phase, and I wasn't doing it. Make sure you guys slam those hearts, hit those hearts for me, champions. Hit those hearts, like this, and subscribe to me if you're on YouTube. Subscribe to me, please, and hit that bell if you're on TikTok. Subscribe to me and hit that notification so you guys know when I go live, because I will be going live regularly on TikTok. Because the TikTok, I understand the algorithm better on TikTok, and there's more of you on TikTok than there are that are on the other platforms. Okay, so like I said, just hit live or hit those hearts for me, and please subscribe to me over there or wherever you are, Facebook, YouTube, wherever you are listening to the MP3 broadcast. So we were supposed to move into the next phase of what's going on here, and I was kind of resistant to that, and Peter was pushing me. Thank you, Peter, for sending me a gift. Peter was pushing me to do this more and to get out here more and start talking more. So now I'm getting used to that, but I still have my instincts still don't want me to do that, and sometimes that frustrates Brooke. This morning it frustrated her a little bit, and I said, "Baby, you have to understand that I've been hiding my entire life and being that guy that you don't remember, and it's going to take me a little bit of time to adjust to being the guy that's standing up here talking to people, even though I do it really good, and I've been doing it on my podcast for a while. I still have those instincts of don't put yourself out there." So I'm trying to get past that, and so she's kind of like my sponsor when it comes to that. You know how alcoholics have a sponsor if they're going through AA, right? I'm going through the withdrawals of being an international spy, so to speak, working for governments and doing things for governments around the world in different places that I've never been to, because officially I've never been there. And, and because if you look up this name's never done anything. So now I'm done with that portion of setting up coalitions, and they're running themselves and they're setting up and they're talking around the world. And now we're getting the information out because the things are changing. The world is changing in a better way. If you go back in time, if you're old enough, you're not old enough, you don't know this. If you're old enough, you know that if you look at 40 years ago, the amount of people that were awake on this earth 40 years ago were like 1/100th of the amount of people that are completely awake today. It was very few people. Just before COVID, it wasn't as many people. I could name on a couple of hands, maybe 10 or 15, 20 people that I would consider awake. And then COVID hit the world. That was the greatest thing that ever happened to this world. I know that some of you lost people during COVID, and that might bother, some of you that I say that. But if you look at it from an objective standpoint, COVID woke up a lot of people to the evils of what's going on this earth by the people that are here, right? Sorry, I'd like to take my glasses off so you guys can see my eyes, but I can't read the chat without my glasses, so I have to put them on. So I try to find a spot where you guys can see my eyes without all the glare. So if I'm channeling, I will take my glasses off, and then I can't read the chat. That's why having moderators like Pete or Brooke in the audience, you guys can pop the questions up, because I can still see the questions from the other chat without my glasses, but down here it's kind of hard. It's blurry. This eye is completely blurry. That one's the only one that I can read the chat with. So I usually have to have these on, and then you guys can't see my eyes. I'm not one of those people that closes their eyes when they channel. I keep my eyes open. Okay. Yeah, right. Peter says, I'll give you a tip. Don't use that word used with the keywords. Yes, I know, because then I'll spark the algorithm. I know there's keywords that I have to stay away from. Absolutely. I did that when I was on live the very first time, and I got booted off and got warned because I had made some comment that was just a little bit too much information, right? So Raven, welcome back. Okay, so literally, I'm aware. Let's go back to what I was talking about when Raven was here. Literally, I'm aware that I have on-world and off-world people paying attention to what I have to say. Okay, I'm aware of that. I know that. I've been told that many times. I've had them try to assassinate me at least 4 times that I'm aware of in the last 10 years. Truly. One time I was in the hospital and I was about to go into surgery, and literally a psychic from New York was all of a sudden in the operating room, and I thought I was hallucinating because I thought they hit me with a gas. I'm hallucinating. Why would I bring this woman into my hallucination when I'm about to go unconscious? I thought that was odd. I'll have to remember that and tell her that. And then after I woke up and I was in recovery, I remembered that and went, that was weird. I'll have to text her and find out if she felt anything, or why would I bring her into that instance? And I went back to my room, and I wasn't there for 10 minutes, and my cell phone rang. I answered the cell phone. I was out of surgery and in recovery, and then back into my room. I answered my cell phone, and it's her, and she's on the other side of the United States. I was in California at the time. Or was I in Arizona? Nope, that was when I was in California. And she says, they were trying to kill you. did you see me in the emergency room? I said, yeah, you were there, and you said that you brought help. And she said, I did. They were trying to kill you. I was there. I astral projected, and I brought in your team, and we were defending your body because they were trying to murder you while you were on the operating table. You were supposed to die on the operating table, and we stopped that from happening. I said, I thought that was me tripping on the gas. She said, no, that was real, and I was pulled in, and I was tapped, and then we all came there, and they used me to hone in on you because I was her teacher. So they used her to hone in on me because of her being my student, she could find me. So she was there and able to find me, and then they defended me, and I didn't know. I just saw her, and seemed like there was far too many people in this operating room at the time, but I was, I'm breathing gas, so I'm tripping. I'm going out figuring I'm just hallucinating. Then when I was back in the room, not tripping, phone rings, I'm talking to her, and we talked about it a few times after that. Okay. So literally, right? So let's get to that. You guys have questions, like I said, please bring them up, and I'll answer them wherever platform you're on, unless you're listening on the MP3 broadcast. Okay. So literally what you're doing here, this place, from a 3D standpoint, you think this place is all that there is because you probably think that you live and you die and that's all that there is. From a spiritual standpoint, this place is here, and it's a school for you, and you're supposed to learn how to get out of here. And what is the function, right? Here, let's say what it normally is, third dimension, normally on a normal planet, not this one, because this is an upgraded school that's really hard. This is a matrix that's super hard to get out of. You all volunteered for this. On a normal planet that is third dimension, this would be the place that when you become self-aware for the first time as a soul, you're mind wiped when you're in one dimension, two dimension. If you're a planet or water or air or molecule, blade of grass, whatever, one-dimensional being, you live that life, and that could be extended for thousands of years, hundreds of thousands of years. If you're a rock, you could be there for a long time. Then you become a two-dimensional being. That's something that grows and can move. A plant, a tree, grass, dog, cat, fish, walrus, something, a snake, something that moves about, flies in the air, or whatever. When you become self-aware, I think, therefore I am. When you become self-aware that you are something, that you are, and pets normally happen faster. Like we have a cat, his name is Luciano. When you call them a name and you treat them like a person, you talk to them like that, they become self-aware. They realize their self-worth. I am something. I'm Luciano. I am this name. So we help the people from the lower realms move up. So once you become self-aware, when you die, whatever it is that you are, whether you believe this or not, this is what happens. I know if you're like a devout zealot in your religion, you don't believe that. You believe there's one life, God made you, you're down here, you go up there, and that's all there is. You can believe that. It's okay. You don't have to believe me. I say don't believe me and research the stuff for yourself. Think for yourself. Okay, so what happens is normally when you die on a planet, if that planet sustains third dimensional life, you'll be born whatever that life form is, say human. You'll be born as a human, but you're still veiled. Okay, you still don't remember who you are. You're born and you're locked into the matrix, and you're surviving the matrix, and you're learning about it, and you're learning. So I think, therefore I am. Eventually, between 7 and 10 lifetimes later, unless you came in to do it really quickly, between 7 and 10 lifetimes later, somewhere in that time period, you will start to learn and move into the I am, therefore I think. Not I think, therefore I am, therefore I think. You will graduate from I think, therefore I am, that this is the physical body, living in the physical plane, living in the flesh. You will then start to realize that there is something other than yourself. I am not the pain body. I am not the thinking mind. I am not the ego. I am not the conscience. I am the consciousness that is in a different place, not inside this physical body. I am, therefore I think. So you go from I think, therefore I am, to I am, therefore I think. That's why when Moses said to God, who shall I say sent you, Moses? Who shall I say sent me to tell them I don't know your name, Lord? And he said, I am that I am. I am the Alpha and the Omega. I am the beginning and the end. That's the Higgs boson. I am the 9 and the 0. I am everything and nothing. I am the beginning and the end, Alpha and the Omega. Tell them I am sent you. I am. I am consciousness. I am an immortal soul. Okay. So when you start realizing that, first thing you do is you start to wake up, you go through life, you're living life, you're figuring all this stuff out, living in the physical. Then at some point you have a dark night of the soul, either through strife or you start learning about religion, or you start learning about philosophy, or you start learning about things, and you start to wonder and ponder, start thinking for yourself. Okay. You start wondering, you start pondering, you start thinking, you start looking around. There's got to be something more than this. I don't think this is it. What if I'm literally, my wife and I are watching on Angel Studios. They have Testament, I think is what it is. It's from the Acts of the Apostle, which was the book after Jesus, of what the apostles, the 12 apostles did, so that we know that they created the churches and that they were teaching everywhere. That's the Acts of the Apostle, ACTS, Acts of the Apostles. Okay, so Angel Studios made a television series that is called Testament, and it's about the beginnings of the churches, the beginnings of it literally picks up 40 days after Jesus was crucified and resurrected. They spent that 40 days while Jesus was back here on earth. A lot of people don't know that. They think that he died, he was resurrected, and he went straight to heaven. He did not. He died, he was resurrected. He showed himself to the people and said, I have to go, I'll be back. And then he disappeared and he was teaching people, and eventually he came back. They spent 40 days with Jesus, and Jesus was traveling around the world teaching people, and specifically in that region. You can read that in the Acts of the Apostles, in the New Testament, in the Bible. But they don't teach you that. They teach you that Jesus died, was resurrected, went to God, became God. He's the Trinity. And they skip over the Acts, and they go straight to the book of Romans, and they teach you the book of Romans in all the churches. I have one of the Bibles. It's not with me in this country because I came to Australia because I married a Brooke who's Australian, and moving to Australia to be with my wife. I was taking care of my mother in America. My mother was transitioning into a home, and then she died, and then I came over here to be with my wife. So I forgot the Bible, but I have one of those sermon Bibles that us priests have. Okay. They skip over Acts of the Apostles and they go to the book of Romans, and they teach out of the book of Romans. Why is that? Where did the book of Romans come from? The book of Romans came and was introduced into the Bible. Guess what? Yeah, you're absolutely right. When Constantine, who was the emperor of Rome at the time, Constantine was transitioning the Roman people into Christianity. He used the Christianity to convert the Roman people to Christianity. So the curriculum that you're taught mostly in most of the churches is from the book of Romans, not the book of the Acts of the Apostle, not Matthew, Mark, Luke, John. They reference Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, and then they reference the Old Testament only when it suits them to venerate that Jesus is God in the New Testament, and they teach you out of the book of Romans. Teach you how to be a good Roman citizen. Okay? Go to your church, listen to your priest, your preacher, your Christian preacher, and he's going to be teaching you Romans. Not the apostles, not Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. They're going to tell you the stories of Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, but they're going to go right back to Romans, and they're going to teach you Romans 90% of the time. My brother, who's in a theological college, is learning that. He's getting his ministry, and he's becoming a theologian, and he's in college, and he has, I think, this year, I think by the end of this year or the middle of next year, he's probably going to have his minister title first. They were trying to give him that. So he's probably going to be a pastor before this year's over. And then next year he'll be a theological scholar. But he's learning that about theology, right? I asked him that. Why do they teach you the book of Romans? Why do they do that more than anything else? Okay. They do that because it's part of the curriculum that they're trying to teach you. And I'm not going to get involved in all of that, right? So any hard evidence, proof of this, or just words? It depends on what you're meaning. The real deal, OG Frank. I'm not sure exactly what you're. If you're talking about all of this is actually. I'm a theologian and I have 4 religious titles. You might have just got here. There is proof of this. You can look this up from anyone. This is all. I'm giving you history. I'm not giving you theory. I'm not giving you my opinion. Everything that I'm saying to you is actual history. You can look in time. There was a time in the year 939, somewhere around there. Look up the First and Second Council of Nicaea. Okay, some people just say nice because it's spelled like the word nice, N-I-C-E, but it's N-I-S-E, I think. Look up the Council of Nicaea. Look up the First and Second Council of Nicaea, and you'll see that was when Constantine. You can look up Constantine. Constantine edited the Roman Catholic Bible. Then if you go forward to the King James Version, you can see that King James also edited that Bible, and that Bible has differences in it. This is not me making up a theory. This is not conspiracy theory. This is actual fact and history that you can look up, okay? It really happened. So during the Council of Nicaea, books were removed from the canon, from the Christian Bible and the Hebrew Bible, which is now called the Old Testament. I am a Christian minister, and I was knighted by the Roman Catholic Church and baptized by the Roman Catholic Church. So I'm a knight by the Holy See of the Roman Catholic Church, and I have a Christian minister title from the Universal Life Church in Phoenix, Arizona. Okay, so I'm not coming to you as a crackpot. I'm not coming to you as somebody who's trying to say religion is wrong. I'm coming to you as a religious historical standpoint. I've spent my entire life learning about religion and philosophy and spirituality, and I teach it. Okay, so the proof is in history. You can look that up. Okay, everything that I'm saying to you is not in theory. There's actual proof of that in existence in scrolls that are out there for you to read. If you read the Dead Sea Scrolls, and people say those are just made up and they were just found in 1948. If you look up the Ethiopian Bible, the Ethiopian Church, which was the 12th tribe of Israel, you can look that up now. They've already come out and said that a long time ago. The Ethiopian Church has a Bible that they did not allow to the Europeans to edit. The Eastern Orthodox Church of the Roman Catholic Church, the Eastern Orthodox Church, also has a Bible that they refuse to let them edit. If you take those two Bibles and put them side by side, and then you look at the King James Version that they're using now, or the New American Version, or the New International Version of the Bible, and you open those up, you'll see that there are differences. You'll see that there's about 160 to 186 books missing from the new Christian canon. You'll see that the Eastern Orthodox Church and the Ethiopian Church have the same Bible. And if you look at the books that are missing from the Bible that we have as the Christian Bible today, you'll find that the Dead Sea Scrolls, those books are the books that are in those other two Bibles. Okay? Those books are in those other two Bibles. So this is history. This is not theory. This is not me making stuff up and giving you my opinion. We've now proven that in history. Okay? And then if you look at, and I think Peter's bringing that up right now, and if you look up the Book of Kells that the Irish have, which is huge, right? You'll see the Book of Kells also has not been edited, and it has most of those same books in it. Okay? So this is actual history that people have these books that they've proven date back to 1,400, 1,500 years ago, that they did not allow people to edit. And now scholars are going to Ethiopia and studying the Bible and going to the Eastern Orthodox Church. They haven't been telling people that they had it until the modern times. Probably in the last 4 or 5 years, they started saying, look, we have one of the original copies of the Bible and you guys can take a look. The Irish have been telling you about it for a long time with the Book of Kells, but people weren't just not listening to them. Okay? So you can look that up in history. And I would say to you as well, and everybody else listening, to not believe anything that I'm saying to you. Look it all up for yourself, because when you start asking questions and you start looking into things, that's how you start breaking the conditioning that they have been teaching you in this life on this planet. And you start actually finding out that there are other answers out there that they have taken the information away from you. Or you can buy my book and start there. There's another book that I wish I would have read before I wrote my book, because I would have referenced that. There's a book out there that's called God-Man, the Bible Made Flesh. They teach this in theological colleges. And that book came out in like the 1940s, I think, 1948. Don't quote me and get mad at me if I give the wrong date. I believe it was in 1948. And there is a chapter in there that's identical to a chapter that I wrote about, not knowing. And my brother said, that sounds like God-Man, the Bible Made Flesh. I said, I have a copy of that, but I haven't read it. He said, you should read it because you quoted it. I said, did I? I said, I quoted this from a doctor who had a video. Maybe he quoted it from there, but I know that I researched this information the Egyptians knew about, the Greeks knew about, the Romans knew about, but the information's been taken from us. He goes, yeah, now you sound like my teacher in the theological college teaching me just that. So I said, this is the book, right? And he said, yeah. So I started reading it and went, man, I wish I would have read this, because I would have quoted that and said, here is a backup to what I'm saying. You can see it in this book that came out in 1948. So if I do a revised edition, I'm going to add that as a footnote that this chapter, you can read it's almost verbatim from this other book. I wish that I knew that, because I would have referenced that as a reference to what I was saying. So in my book, The Reality About Reality, Returning to the Old Ways, I tell you the story of what I'm telling you now and where to find it in history, okay? So you can look through history. You can see that there was this stuff that was going on, right? So let's see. Ahab, I guess it's Moab. Moab says, does religion blind and spirituality freeze us? Yes. Religion recruits you. Spirituality waits for you to find it. That's a quote from my book. Religion is still spiritualities in there, and you can find it in every religion. This is why I don't tell people religion is wrong, because they're not. They're just not teaching you 100%. If you go and get whatever religion that you like and you read it, you'll find that the way is in there. They don't readily teach that to you. That question, for those of you on TikTok, came from YouTube. So they don't readily teach it to you, the way to ascend to heaven. They teach you, wait here. Jesus is coming back in a Volkswagen bus to pick you guys up. Most of the religions say, wait here, God's going to come back for you. They don't teach you what the actual prophet was saying. The actual prophet was saying, this is how you get out of here. Okay? So religion blinds you to true spiritualism, but it's in that book. It's in every book. So if you read the book for yourself, which most of your clergy will tell you don't do it because you'll get the wrong idea, you'll translate it wrong and you won't understand it. They told me that when I was in high school too, with physics and everything else. Teacher, can I go forward and learn all this stuff on my own, because I'm tired of waiting for, no offense, but Jimmy over there is a dumb kid who doesn't understand what 2 + 2 is. Can I go ahead and go forward? No, you cannot. You have to wait for us to tell you what to learn and how to learn it, because you're going to get it wrong. I said, okay, I'm sorry, I'll wait. Then I went home and did it anyways and didn't tell the teacher. And when the teacher gave us homework, I had already done the homework. So I would just date it. I would never put a date on it, and I would put a date on it and turn it in the next day and get an A on it. So religion's the same way. If you open up that book, Moab, whatever religion that you are, if you open that book and you read it yourself, you're going to find in there the way to ascend to heaven. Okay? But if you just go to church and you trust them to tell you what they're going to tell you, you're going to go there and they're not going to tell you how to get off this rock. Okay? They're going to teach you how to keep coming back and how to keep coming back and pay a tithing to them. And they're going to promise that by doing that, you're going to get out of here in the end. Okay? But they're not going to tell you how. All right? So you have to look for it. You have to look for it on your own. So religion recruits you. That's what it says on the back of my shirt. It's from that book. Though you on YouTube, you can see it. Those of you on TikTok, it's from that book over there. Okay? And it says in there, and that's my quote. I looked it up. No one ever said it on this earth before. Don't ask me why. Religion recruits you. Spirituality waits for you to find it. Okay? So you become spiritual because you're supposed to become spiritual. That's what all of these ascended masters were teaching you, was the way. Tao, the book of the Tao Te Ching is the book of the way. Okay? All of these religions were called the way. Jesus was teaching the way to heaven. Okay? So some people said, well, he must have read the Tao. There was no book called the Tao back then. That book was written. You can look it up. It was written a long time after. It was compiled by the people who started the religion of Taoism. But could he have learned Taoism? Absolutely. He probably did. He probably learned Buddhism. He probably learned Taoism, and he was teaching a form of that. But it's no different. They're all teaching it. So it's Moadib, like God from I should have saw that. I apologize for that. It's Moadib from Dune. Moadib, the Savior. I'm somewhat of a Gnostic, and I just remembered a lot of things I was never taught. Thank you. So yeah, they're good for you if you're a Gnostic, because the Gnosticism is a little closer. But if you learn Gnosis, the Gnostic people claim that they spoke to Jesus and he told them a secret that he didn't tell anybody else, and that what he was teaching was not actually true, and there was something else going on. So be careful if you're learning just Gnosis. If you're learning Gnosticism and the Gnostic Gospels, those were written by Hermes, and it's okay to learn that stuff. And I would say to everybody, read everything anyways. But take things with a grain of salt. If it's an organized way, then it's a church or a religion. Be careful, because they're going to try and recruit you, and they're going to try and get you to believe that their way is the best way. Right? So I always tell everybody, and my brother, like I said, he's in a theological college, but it's a Christian theological college. So they're teaching him to be a good Christian. And I said, you got to take it because you're paying them for that. But you need to stay open-minded and think outside the box. And if they're not teaching you to think outside the box, you need to learn to think outside the box. Because every religion will say they're the right way and everybody else is wrong. So, and the ones who say that the most are the Christians and the Muslims. The Christians and the Muslims don't exist without the book of Moses. That's the book the Hebrews have. Okay? They literally, Muhammad starts every speech with, remember what Moses said. Remember Moses said. Moses said. The book of James is the same way. They took that out of the Bible. The book of James says, Jesus said. Jesus said. Remember Jesus said. Remember Jesus said. So they said, nope, that's not in the Bible. We don't want that there, because he said some things in there that don't go along with the Council of Nicaea's appointment of what they were doing with Jesus, with Constantine putting Jesus in a box, making him God. Okay. Before that, he was the son of God, and he was the son of man. He was a prophet, but he never said he was God. So now they're teaching you that Jesus is God. They're doing the same thing with Muhammad. They're trying to raise Muhammad up to Muhammad as God, but at least they're still saying, and then we're fighting. There's people fighting over there is only one God, and insert name here as the prophet, and then kill everybody else over it, even though the prophets are telling you the exact same thing. Think about that. They're having you chase your tail the same way that they did with the theologians, where they're like, you have to find out which scroll is the oldest scroll. So run over there and find the oldest scroll. And meanwhile, you're ignoring the content of the scroll you're reading. And you're going, yep, that's the scroll they copied. We got to find the oldest one. And then you run over and you chop down a bunch of trees to go and find that one tree. So you're like, I can't find that tree because the forest is in the way. Cut that forest down. They're all the same anyway. Cut that down. We'll find the one tree. And then they keep you doing that for your whole career, and you never actually start focusing on the content of the message. Okay? So it's not as important as when it was written. It's not as important of who wrote it first. What's important is they all found that message is the same. So did they all steal the same message? What if they all did? Well, then we got to find that one guy who wrote it. So what you're saying is all these other people who claim to be ascended masters who talked to God and God told them this information, they're not the one guy, because there was a guy before that guy who did it, and a guy before that guy who did it, and a guy before that guy. What you're missing is they're all telling the same story. Nothing in history, nothing in the world stays the same when told by 2 different people, 3 different people, 4 different people. We call that the grapevine. Okay? If I'm sitting here and I have a message and I write down a paragraph, and I get 5 people in the room and put headsets on them so they can't hear me, and I get the first guy and walk over and take his headset off and read him that piece of paper, and then fold it up and then say, go and tell that guy that, and then tell him to say that to the next guy and the next guy. That person is going to go over there and he's going to get the other guy's attention, take off his headset, and he's going to tell him what he remembers I said, and he's going to change the words, and he's going to change the way it's spoken. He's going to change the story slightly. And the next guy's going to do the same thing, and the next guy, and the next guy, and the next guy. Okay? And that happens with everything, including translations of the same Bible from different languages. I'm a theologian. We look into this stuff. So if you look at the modern Christian Bible, that's been translated from either Coptic, Greek, or Latin. The only way you know what really said in that Bible is that you have to translate it from all 3 of those languages. And then if it was originally written in Sanskrit, you need to translate the Sanskrit. The problem with that is lost in translation. The problem with that is that different words mean different things to different people. Like right now, for instance, everybody in the world, you're welcome, Muad'Dib, by the way. I'm sorry, you said thank you and I didn't say you're welcome. I apologize for that. If you look around the world right now, everybody's saying Jesus isn't even Jesus's real name. They lied to you. His name's not Jesus. It's something else. It's Yahweh. It's Yeshua. Okay? They're absolutely right, but they're also wrong. Jesus is the translation of the word Yahweh, Yahshua. Yahweh in Sanskrit, Yahshua in Yiddish, Hebrew, was translated into Latin, or into Greek, into Greek. And the Greek word for the name Joshua, Yahshua, is a name that is almost identical in English to Jesus. It was Yesius. Yahweh, Yahshua, Yeshuas. Yeshuas was translated from Greek to Roman, or to not Italian, but I just said it, Latin. And the Latin for Yeshuas is Jesus. That language was translated into English, Jesus. So Jesus, literally in Sanskrit, is Yahshua. Okay? So they're saying Jesus isn't even his name. They lied to you, and it's a conspiracy theory to control you. It's a translation of the word. Let me give you an example. Okay? The Greek word, I use the word lion, Lion, lion in English, for roar, lion. The only word that we have that is the most ancient word for that lion is the Greek word that is Leo, L-E-O. My name is Leonard, L-E-O-N-A-R-D. That means lion heart. The N-A-R-D is a German, Middle German word that means heart. Leonidas is the Greek word that means lion heart. King Leonidas, his name was Lionheart. My name is Lionheart. In Italian or French or Latin, my name would be Leonardo. Okay? Leonardo DiCaprio, Leonardo da Vinci. Do you see? But my name still means Lionheart. So if somebody calls me Leo, that means lion. Where we got the word lion from, the Greek word Leo, Leo. Okay? The French pronunciation of the Greek word is lion. Lion. That is spelled L-I-O-N, lion. The N is silent. It is an on sound. Lion, Leo, Lion. English took that lion and changed the way that where the accent was, and ended up saying lion, 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 Leo, Leon, lion, lion in modern day. So my name means Lionheart. If I say the word lion, I'm not lying to you that that's not my real name, when my real name is, in fact, Leo. Leonidas is the oldest version of that word. Okay? So Jesus is not a lie that was made up. Okay? Yes, like the word Lyran. Thank you. Muad'Dib said, like the world Lyran. Lyran were the lion people. Okay? Lyran meant lion type, cat type people. Yes. And then Muad'Dib said, I really think the Dead Sea Scrolls are true. I appreciate this information. Dead Sea Scrolls are true. You had gotten here a little bit late, and I was talking about that on TikTok, because I'm live on TikTok as well as live on YouTube for you and Facebook for you over here. The Dead Sea Scrolls were scrolls that were taken out of the Christian canon, the Christian Bible, during the First and Second Council of Nicaea that happened in the year 300, 394, somewhere in there, 360 to 390, before the year 400. Constantine, who was the Roman prefect, the Caesar in Rome, decided that the official religion of the Romans was going to be Christianity. So he decided that all the Bibles needed to come into Rome, and they needed to have one consistent Bible. And they edited out the Bible, and they took out all the books that we now know from the Dead Sea Scrolls. People say those are outliers. They're not true. It's a lie. Those were just made up. Except the problem with that is the Ethiopians, the Irish, and the Eastern Orthodox Roman Catholic Church from the East, not the West, not the Roman Catholic Church from Italy, but the Eastern Orthodox Church. All three of them have a version of the Bible that they did not allow Constantine or King James later on to edit. And those Bibles have the scrolls that we found in the Dead Sea and some that we don't have from the Dead Sea that were destroyed, those Bibles currently today have all of those books in it. So the books from the Dead Sea are in fact true because they were originally in the Bible. They were originally in the Christian canon until it was changed by Constantine and then slightly changed later by King James. And I don't think King James did it nefariously, but that hasn't been proven. But King James was trying to translate the Bible because King James was speaking Latin and trying to translate the Bible. And so some of the translations got messed up. But they did change some things in there too that they probably shouldn't have. But you have lost in translation when you translate words. In modern day times, words don't mean what they meant back then, and words don't mean today what they did back then. Okay, so if you look at, here's some more history. I'm going to get some people mad at me. Here's some more history you can look up. Ask your rabbi, ask the Jewish people. At the time that Jesus was alive, 2,000 years ago, 2,000 year anniversary of Jesus' death and resurrection is coming up, though, by the way. It's coming up in the next couple of years. You should look that up too. The Smith's Bible Dictionary, which I don't have a copy of because I left in California and I didn't bring it with me to Australia. I'm going to buy another copy of it. That's the dictionary that all scholars around the world have agreed is the most comprehensive because Smith took all the information from all the religions and compiled it to answer questions like when was the date of Jesus's birth. And he lists in there by according to these people and those people and this people and that people and these people, this was the time that they said Jesus was born. So if you take all of that information and then you look at star charts, you could find that that was the day Jesus was born. So we know that it was between this month and this day and that day. And so he does a very scientific comprehension of that. Okay. So when you look at all of that information that's in that dictionary, you see that he says, and he shows you in there that the words don't mean things. If you look up the time of Jesus, Jesus could not be called rabbi. That's the priestly title that means teacher in English, from Yiddish to English. He could not be called rabbi unless he was married. He could not teach in the synagogue unless he was married. They were allowing him to teach in the synagogue and they were allowing him to call himself a rabbi. So Jesus had to be married to somebody. Okay. He also had to have children or his wife had to be pregnant. In that religion at the time, whether you like this or not, now remember, I'm a Christian minister and I've been knighted by the Holy Roman Catholic Church. So don't get mad at me and say, you're an atheist. I'm not. At the time that he was teaching, at the time, if you were Jewish and a Jewish man, you had to be married by the time you were 30. And your marriage was arranged by your parents. Okay? So Jesus had to be married. He had to be married to a woman. And she had to either have children or be pregnant for him to be teaching in the synagogue as a rabbi and called rabbi, or they would have gotten rid of him really quickly when they were looking for reasons to get rid of him. He's not even legitimately a rabbi. He's not married. He doesn't have kids. He can't call himself a rabbi because to be a rabbi and teach people, you have to be able to know those things. You can't give people marital status questions answered. You also can't teach people how to take care of their children if you don't know anything about it. In their religion, you had to be married by the age of 30, and you had to start having children because there was only a couple million of them. Okay? So it's part of their religion at the time. Then come forward to the book of Philip and a few other books, including the book of Mary, which was taken out of the canon because they couldn't have Jesus be a human married and have children. You see that, and Dan Brown wrote the Da Vinci Code and put this information in the Da Vinci Code. If you look at that in there, it says that Mary was Jesus's companion. Today, that word means a pal, somebody that you just hang out with, somebody that you travel with is your companion. 2,000 years ago, in that language, at the time, the word companion literally, not figuratively, not even a mistranslation, literally meant spouse, meant husband or wife. Okay? So they never said that Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, or any of those people was Jesus's companion. None of them were Jesus's companion. They were his followers and they were his students. The only person they said was Jesus's companion was Mary Magdalene. Okay? Jesus had to have been married by the laws of the religion at the time. He had to have been married to someone, a woman, and the only woman that they had said that was anywhere near Jesus was Mary. And when Jesus met Mary, he called her by her real name because she was going by Lilith at the time, and everybody said she was possessed. He called her Mary of Magdalene. And when she said, "Who are you that calls me my name?" he says, "Who but the Creator God would know your true name? I call you by Mary Magdalene because you are mine." He didn't say that to anyone else when he met them. He said that to Mary. "You are mine." And she came over and she wept and she collapsed in his arms and they embraced and he hugged her. No one else did that. There was times when they got emotional and hugged him. But she was his companion. Okay? Not a follower, not a student. Companion. That word literally meant spouse back then. And all of them had to be married to someone. Okay? So then if you look at, Peter said when he was talking about Mary, everybody talks about this. This is history. I'm not making it up. He said, "I hate her and her entire kind." What did he mean? I hate women? Was she not Hebrew and he was racist? We don't know the answer to that. But what he did say following up after that was, he said, "But it's better to marry than to burn." Okay? So Peter was implying that he hated women, hated Mary Magdalene, but it was better to get married than it was to burn. Meaning, the sound of that says Peter didn't like women. Okay? We don't know for certain, but when Peter took over the church, the very first thing he did was said, "Nobody in our church can be married. They have to be married to God." So priests can't be married. Oh, and women can't be clergy. They're second-class citizens. Okay? So that is the change that was made immediately in that. So Muad'Dib said, Jesus, John, Judas, it was no coincidence that these three met and knew each other. You're absolutely correct. John was actually, you're talking about John the Baptist, or you're talking about John, Jesus's brother, the one they claim wasn't Jesus's brother, but he was. Is that what you're talking about? Or you're talking about John the Baptist? John the Baptist was Jesus's cousin. Jesus's mother, Mary's sister, was John the Baptist's mother. You can look that up in history. I'm not making that up. John, the John that followed Jesus, was actually Jesus's younger brother. Okay? And if you need proof of that, you can look up in history. Here again, it's history. This is not me making this up. I'm a theologian. I've researched this. In history, when the Romans, the Baptist, he was his cousin. Muad'Dib was talking about the Baptist. John the Baptist John the Baptist was Jesus's cousin, his first cousin, his aunt's son. Okay, you can look that up. So if you look up in Roman at that time, in Roman law, if I'm being tortured, Jesus was being tortured by the Romans. The family were responsible for cleaning up the blood off the ground. They didn't do it. We had to torture and whip your husband, brother, sister, cousin. Your job as a slave under Rome is you guys got to wash the floor where we do this. You can look that up. I'm not making that up. That's a true story. So when Jesus was whipped and tortured by the Romans, only 3 people went down there to clean up his blood. That's it. 3 people. Out of all the apostles, there were 12 apostles. There were 9 women. All the apostles had wives. And there were 9 other women who were following them and other men who were following them. Barnabas, who you don't hear about, a few others that were following them. Constantly, you only hear about the 12 apostles and only men, but they all had to be married because they were Jewish in that religion at the time. Because most of them were over the age of 30. Most of them were over the age of 25. Okay? 3 people. Pontius Pilate's wife, brought towels and gave them to Mary, Joseph's wife, Jesus's mother, because she felt for Jesus and she was paying her tribute and honor by giving her towels from her rich house, from her station as governess, the wife of the governor, giving towels to clean up Jesus's blood because she knew that was the laws. She gave them to Holy Mary, Jesus's mom. All the other disciples stayed back and watched while Mary Magdalene, and John cleaned up Jesus's blood. The only way that that would happen is if they were related to him. No one else was able to do that, only the family member. They didn't just allow people to volunteer. Only the family has to clean up the blood as their penance because of that. So John had to be related to Jesus, and so did Mary. Mary was married to Jesus, and John was Jesus's brother. No, he wasn't. John is standing next to Mary Magdalene and Mary, Jesus's mom, when Jesus is on the cross. Jesus is crucified, and he looks at his mother and he says, "Woman, see your son. Son, see your mother." Okay? He didn't say that to anybody else. He didn't say that to all the other followers. Why did he pick John? Because she said, "I'm losing my son," because Jesus was dying. And he said, "You have a son." He actually had two brothers. "See your son, son, see your mother, take care of your mother while I'm gone." He didn't say those words, but that's what he was saying. That's on the cross. That's in the Bible. You can read that, okay? So, and then they're talking on TikTok about Judas, and then my wife says, she's on Merlin and Maeve is my wife and I's company. She says, Judas wasn't the traitor. Jesus asked him to do it. He wasn't the bad guy. He was his only servant that was loyal. You can look that up. If you look at the Dead Sea Scrolls, there is the book of Judas. And if you don't believe the Dead Sea Scrolls are anything, go to the Ethiopian Bible. They have the book of Judas in it. The book of Kells has the book of Judas in it. And the Eastern Orthodox Church of the Roman Eastern Orthodox Church also has the book of Judas in it. And in the book of Judas, you find out that Jesus actually said to Judas, "You're the only one." And I'll get into that. Thank you, Brooke, for bringing that up, because I saw you guys were talking about that in the chat over there. And we'll talk about the Last Supper and that whole situation with Jesus, okay? And how it doesn't make sense unless you know this information. The book of Judas tells you that Judas was the only person that was loyal enough to Jesus. Jesus came to him in that conversation they had by themselves, and he said, "You need to," because Judas was saying, "We have the money. We need to put aside money for this whole group to continue." And he kept saying, "Judas, I don't understand where you think that's what we're here to do. I've been trying to tell you and everybody else, I'm going to die. I'm going to have them kill me. But you don't need to do that." "Yes, I do. You don't understand what's going on. I need to have them kill me to fulfill the prophecy sent by God down to earth to die for all of the people. I am come here to die." Okay? So Judas said, "No, Lord, you can't do that." And he said, "I have to. That's why I'm here." Okay? So I need someone who is loyal enough to me to help me bring that to an end. My wife loves me too much. She will not do this for me, and I cannot ask her to do this for me. You can look this up. This is the conversation that was had. And it's not just, well, the Dead Sea Scrolls were just made up and they weren't true. The Ethiopian Bible, they will tell you, is the original Bible. The Eastern Orthodox Church will tell you they have the original Bible. The Book of Kells that the Irish has is a copy of that, and they will tell you it's the original Bible. All of the books that are from the Dead Sea Scroll, if those were all invented and they were just planted in the Dead Sea, they wouldn't be in any other Bible, would they? But they are. They're in those three Bibles, and we found copies of them all over the world. This is history. This is not my making shit up. Okay? So Jesus said to Judas, "This is the plan. I need you to lead them to me." Judas said, "My Lord, if I do this, people are going to hate me for all of time. They're going to say that I turned you in and that I was evil." And he said, "You're absolutely right. But you will sacrifice that and your family's name. And then you will have a place at my right hand in the kingdom of heaven. And after this place, when they come home to the kingdom of heaven, they will know that what you did was what I asked you to do." They will not know it on this earth for a very long time. It won't be until the books are unlocked in the time of the future, in that time of troubles, thousands of years from now. So you're absolutely right. You're going to go down in history as an evil man who turned me in. But you are the only person that I can ask to do this for me, because you are the only one that is loyal enough to do this. When I tell you to do it, you'll do it. And Judas said, I don't want to do this. And he said, you have to do this for me. And he cried and he said, my Lord, if I do this, you will die. He said, I'm going to die anyways. If I have to do it myself, I will, but it should be you and it needs to be you. And he agreed to that. You can read the book of Judas out there in the world and you guys can hear that. You can see it. Look up the Ethiopian Bible, look up the Eastern Orthodox Bible, look up the book of Kells. You will find that that is not just made up information that somebody made up in the Dead Sea and that it's all lies and it's not real books from the Bible. It's books from the Bible that were taken out of the Bible, just like people think that it is. And there's proof of that now. Okay. So it's not just theory, it's history. Okay. So when you're at the Last Supper and Jesus is sitting there, he says to the congregation, one of you will betray me. Okay. Thank you, David, for doing that, brother. David sending me roses and hitting those things. I didn't have my glasses on, so I didn't see that you were doing that. Thank you for the badges. Thank you for that. Everybody slam those hearts for me and like me and follow me. And you guys will be able to know when I go live. And I talk about spirituality all the time and religion. It's what I do. Okay, look at my bio. You'll see that I'm a religious scholar. I'm not just making this up as an atheist. I have 4 religious titles. Okay, so when you're sitting at the now, let's forget that you know what I just said about the Judas story. Okay, let's go to what you do know from the history. The sitting at the table at the Last Supper, and Jesus announces that this is going to be the end. I'm going to go, and I'm going to be persecuted after the food, and I'm going to die. And one of you at this table, he's telling everybody, one of you at this table is going to betray me and betray me to the Romans. That doesn't mean, in this modern English, betrayal means somebody who's going to be evil and turn you in. At that time, in Jesus's time, to betray someone meant to turn them in. It didn't mean with malice. It just meant turn them in over to. Okay? One of you is going to betray me, he said. And then John, who was sitting next to him, asked him, who? Okay? Who is going to betray you? So now there's differences in the story depending on whose Bible you read. Some say he whispers to John, the one who eats when I do will be the one who's going to betray me. And then he reaches for food, and Judas reaches over and takes some food and starts eating it. Other versions of the Bible say that he leaned over and he says, the one who I give the food to is going to betray me. And then he takes a piece of bread and some meat and hands it to Judas. Okay? And then, as they're all sitting there, he looks at Judas and he says, right now I have somebody trying to come in. He looks at Judas and he says to Judas, you don't have to stay here any longer. You can go now. And then Judas gets up and goes and turns him in, right? So David's trying to come on. So I'm going to add you, David. Hold on a second here, brother. I'm on. I got to do it on my phone here, so I got to bring you up. I think that added you. Did that add you? Let's see if it added you. Are you in? I don't know if you guys can see him. There you go, brother. So I think they can hear you now because I can't tell, but I think you're on live with me, so they can hear you. So welcome aboard. So I'll have to turn up my sound on my phone so I can hear you as well. So Judas was doing what Jesus told him to do, okay? And he, at that point, it doesn't make sense if you think about it, right? Other than if you're in the know and you know that Jesus knows Judas is going to betray him, it kind of makes sense if he looks at Judas and said, you don't have to stay here any longer, you could go, right? But then everybody's like, well, why would you allow him to? Because it was the plan. Jesus was supposed to die, right? But then there's the debate, because then they said Judas killed himself afterwards. Judas didn't hang himself. Nobody saw that. They just saw Judas hanging. Judas didn't hang himself. When the Romans, after they took Jesus, realized that it was the plan of Jesus, they went and hunted down Judas and hung him because they found out that Judas was actually told by Jesus to do it. Okay? So then they hung him, and then people saw that and said, see, he hung himself because he was so distraught, and they believed that. And then the canon continued that. The same way they decided that Mary Magdalene wasn't married to Jesus and said that she was a whore when there is no proof. They say, but then they were going to stone Mary and Jesus stopped that. But why is it that that's a different scene? And I love the fact that the guys who made The Chosen and Angel Studios, when they were involved in that, and they were involved in also making stuff about Jesus. And when Mel Gibson made it, it wasn't Mary that was going to be stoned. Actually, Mel Gibson showed Mary. Everyone else shows that it was another woman who had a child, and it wasn't Mary Magdalene. They combined those stories because Jesus went and got Mary, and the whole story of him curing her from being possessed was enough to where the Jews and the Sanhedrin were coming and investigating, how did this miracle happen? There was no stoning as a whore that was involved in that. So when they made The Chosen, the TV series, there was no stoning. It was, she was possessed, Jesus cured her, and then they were investigating that, and she was never attempted to be stoned. But some versions will tell you that. Why? Because in the year 1100, it was like the year 939 or something, 1100, the Pope in Rome.
You are excellent. You are excellent. You know your stuff so well.
I have literally, my brother, I have literally spent my life learning this stuff. I'm a theologian, and I have 4 religious titles, and I've been knighted by the Roman Catholic Church. But I'm glad that you're here because, guys, listen, David is here. I don't know David. David is here, and he is obviously is a scholar as well, and he understands this stuff.
No, sir.
And he's actually backing up what I'm saying over here. He's going, yes. Okay, so if you guys were wondering if I'm making this up, David, who I don't know, must have also made the same shit up. Go ahead, brother.
I just wanted to come in. I was invited by Pete Star TV.
Oh, Pete's my brother. Yeah, Pete. Yeah, I love Pete. You know, yes. Pete? Pete's a great man.
And I know him a long time.
Yeah.
And we're both musicians, and we're from Kildara.
Yes, you are. Yes.
Church of the Oak.
Peter came here to this earth with me. Peter came to this earth with me. He and I came together with my wife, Brooke, who's in the audience. Came here to help people, to educate them, to wake up to the truth of true spirituality and give back people the actual truth of the world, and actually give them the tools that they were supposed to have, that Jesus was trying to give them, that Muhammad was trying to give them, that Moses was trying to give them, that all of these people, Lao Tzu from the Buddha, were trying to give them the way to get to heaven. So I love you, my brother. I didn't know that you were, and Pete's coming on now. About time, Peter. It's about time Pete's trying to come on. So let me add him as soon as I can here. I think you're on, Pete, because you're a moderator. I think you can jump in. If not, I think you're there. Say something, Peter. There you are, brother. Those of you who are on YouTube probably can't hear these guys. I apologize for that. Next time I go live, I'll be live on TikTok in the studio, and you guys will be able to hear that. So you guys may or may not be able to hear David and Peter talking. So I apologize for you guys out there who are listening around the world. But next time you guys will be able to hear guests that were coming on. So welcome, Peter. I'm glad you're here, brother.
Yeah, Brooke invited me.
I said that. I go, Brooke, where's Peter? He needs to be in here. And she goes, yeah, right. So she invited you.
It's like, I'll explain how I originally met David, right?
Yeah.
When Facebook was originally set up, I went live, right? And you linked in.
Right.
I know that guy. And it was so weird. All of a sudden, we got chatting. And then all of a sudden, I popped up on your TV, on the TV show Vikings.
Yeah.
And you go, whoa.
Yeah, I didn't even realize that Pete was an actor and he was on Vikings. And then what he met a friend of ours, and she was on a call on like Messenger, and she added me to the call, and she said, "Do you know Pete?" And I said, "Yeah, Pete and I are friends." And she goes, "Where do you know him from?" I said, "I don't know. We're friends on Facebook, and we've been friends for a long time, but I don't know." And she goes, "You do know?" And I said, "I don't know." And she said, "You do know. You just have to remember it." I said, "What?" And she said, "You watch television show The Vikings, right?" I said, "I've watched every episode." I've never talked to Peter about it. And then all of a sudden, she says, he was on that show. And I looked at Pete and went, what? And he was like, yeah. And so all the time I knew him, I didn't realize that I was watching him on television, but I knew him from somewhere. And we were already friends, but I had no idea that he was on the TV series. Isn't that crazy?
Well, Leonard, Peter invited me here about 10 minutes ago.
Yeah.
And I clicked on the link, and I heard what you were speaking about. When I came in, you were speaking about Judas.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I've not come to teach anybody. I'm not a scholar. Like
Right.
you.
Right.
I have come with a couple of questions because you
Sure.
clearly you know your stuff, man, and I'm impressed.
Thank
I
you.
am impressed.
Thank you, brother.
Okay. So very quickly, I just want
Yes.
to say two things.
Yes, please.
You were speaking about the Gospel of Judas, right? The apocryphal Gospel of Judas, which
Yes.
was discovered in the 20th century, I want to say.
Yeah, it was in 1948 in the
Let's go.
Dead Sea area, and that's why they're called the Dead
Yes.
Sea Scrolls. Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Now, there is a particular phrase, there's a particular verse that I'm hoping that you can shed some light on for me.
Sure.
Because for years I've wondered, what is this talking about, in the most wonderful way.
Right,
and
right.
when we get to that, then I want to add something about our hometown, me and Peter's hometown of Kildare
Yeah.
in Ireland.
Yeah, yeah.
Because we have a shrine, believe it or not, in the Carmelite Church in Kildare town. We have a shrine carved in stone on one of the walls in the Carmelite Church in Kildare town.
Right.
And it is a shrine to Saint Jude.
Yes.
The saint of hopeless cases.
Yes.
And there is a prayer. I'm talking excuse me.
No, it's all right. We're adults here.
A paragraph, a prayer,
Yes.
a mantra to Saint Jude, the
Yes.
saint of hopeless cases.
Yes.
There is stuff people do not understand. There, like you said, with Mary Magdalene being conflated with another woman in the Bible as a prostitute, as a tarnish. Okay. Now I have a question for you about the gospel. Okay.
Yes.
There is a chat. I'm trying to find it on Wikipedia right now, so I don't butcher it. Okay, but the gist of it is, oh, here I found it. Oh wow, look at this.
That was good timing, right?
So the disciples.
Go ahead, please.
Yeah, there's no such thing as coincidences, is there? There's no such thing as coincidences.
There's no such thing as coincidence, my friend. Absolutely.
Things are revealed. Things get revealed as they should be in perfect timing.
Right.
There's no such thing. There's only serendipity. Only serendipity.
Only serendipity.
Listen.
That's right.
So the disciples are sitting around with Jesus.
Yes.
And he is explaining things.
Yes.
And he becomes frustrated. Because they don't really know what he's talking about.
Correct.
And they keep interrupting him. And in his own perception, I suppose, they're asking the wrong questions. They're asking silly questions.
Correct.
And he gets frustrated. And he stands aside. And Judas approaches him. Because they obviously, it's been written out of our Bible, guys.
Yeah.
But they were obviously a lot closer.
Yes.
Than what you're going to get in King James or anything else.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
We've had canonical Bible since 325 AD with the Nicene Creed. Okay, when canon became law, actual law, canonical law.
Right.
So this is serious. But in that moment, okay, I can't find the verse, but I have the right word because I didn't want to butcher it.
Yeah,
okay?
yeah. No, it's okay. Go ahead, brother.
Jesus is frustrated, and Judas approaches him to see, "Are you okay, brother?" And Jesus says, "They don't have any clue who I am." And Judas says, "I do. I know you are from the Most High. The Most High, Yalda Bawath.
Yes.
Am I ringing bells?
Yes.
What is that referencing? Please enlighten me, because I have wondered about this.
Yeah, in
And
the Sanskrit they said Yaldabaoth. You can look that word up, Yaldabaoth. It means King of Kings, the Most High. Yeah, it means the Most High. It means God the Most High.
So is it El? Is this El? Is this the High Father El? Or is this higher? Like, what is this?
That's the creator, the King of Kings, the creator of the universe, above everything. It would be down on earth, because like the L at the end of like all the archangels, Samael, Raphael, that means of God.
Yes,
The L
yes,
is
Rafael,
of the Most High.
Rafael.
Yeah, they all end in L because they're of the Most High, sent by God. So the L was the god. It was a Roman Greek god. I think it was a Roman god. L, so where you get the word like Israel, comes from Isis, Ra, and El. Okay, El was the father.
Canaanite.
Yeah, it's a Canaanite, and it was the father.
Pantheon. The
Yes.
pantheon of Canaan.
Yes. So what they adopted
of which Yahweh was a small player.
was a small player.
Smaller player.
Yeah.
So
So
the pantheon, we also have Asherah.
yeah.
It
Yeah.
was also written out.
Was written out. There was a lot of them
The consort.
that were written out. The consorts, a lot of everything was written out when they put everything as a male monotheistic religion.
Yeah,
They-
patriarchy.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
sir.
and so they took
Yes, sir.
that was a warlike. All religions that are warlike are male dominated, single monotheistic male dominated religions. So if you look at the Roman religions, Zeus was the top dog, male, had a wife, but she was beneath him. Okay, so if you look at that, all the religions that are warlike are that way. The Viking religion was a dual aspect, but most people say Odin was the top dog again, and she was below him. That's a warlike society. So then when you look at other religions where they were more feminine or loving and caring, you had a dual aspect or a feminine goddess who was in charge in that monotheistic religion. So, but the word that word was used as the Most High, meaning the creator of creators. So it's not El, it's above El. It's the creator who created the universe itself. Okay? And everything. So there was nothing.
It's the higher heaven. Like, I mean, how many heavens is there? How many levels are we going to go up?
See, that's the thing. We don't know truly. I just had this conversation with my wife last night. We were talking about it. And I said, from our perspective, it's infinity. How far does it go? Right? How far up does it go? We don't know.
What is eternity? But
Right?
a circle that just loops forever, right?
That's the truth of it. It's a fractal. Okay, so the fractals, when you look at fractals are great. If you look at fractals, the fractal is the spiral. That's the feminine. That's the Kunda buffer energy, not the Kundalini. The Kundalini is the fire. It's the angles. Angles are masculine. The spiral, the goddess symbol, that's the spiral, the Fibonacci sequence. The Fibonacci sequence is actually the pointy. The golden mean ratio is the outside edge. That's the opposite, the feminine spiral.
It's in every flower.
It's in every flower. If you watch, when I do my show, when I do this show and I do it online over on YouTube and Facebook, I have an intro music that's has a video. That video shows exactly what you're talking about. It's in a flower. It's in the rotation of the planets around the sun. It's in the water, in the ocean,
It's everywhere.
storm in the sky. It's our ear.
Of the universe.
Yes, it is the building blocks of the universe. And the mathematical equation of the universe is the golden mean ratio, that spiral, and the Fibonacci sequence.
You are excellent.
Yeah, and I had been teaching this, brother. The Fibonacci sequence is the angles, that's masculine. The outside arch is the spiral, that's feminine. The masculine energy is Kundalini. The feminine energy is Kunda buffer. People forget about that. That's the dual, the two, the Celtic knotwork, masculine and feminine together.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
That is
wow.
that is the true energy of the balance. The Vikings knew it. The English knew it. The yin and the yang. The yin and the yang, the Vesica Pisces, is the masculine and feminine energy overlapping. It's the heart chakra. It is the triple toroidal field that is us. The heart chakra is there because if I'm evil, I love, but I love myself. If I'm good, I love and I love others. The heart chakra is the center point, the 0 point of our soul and our energy. Is everything comes from the heart. The Greeks believed the soul was in the heart, not in the head. The Greeks, in fact, called the brain the heart, and the heart was actually called the pump machine or something like that. They didn't call it the heart. That was changed a long time after. Yes.
Melau Elenica. I speak Greek. I learned Greek. I speak it. I live in Greece.
Okay, so you know.
I want to wrap up something because I don't want want to take over your. This is excellent. I'm following
No,
you.
this is what I'm here for, because you don't need, you go, because I'm trying to show people that I'm not the only one in history or the world that knows this knowledge. So please,
you're
my
not.
friend,
No, far
please,
from
my
it. You're
friend,
not. Yeah,
enlighten them, because you're helping me by doing what you're doing. And I'm helping you because you're telling people what you know. And then I'm going, look, I'm not the only one saying this. Do you see?
All I want to say is, and you touched on it. You've already touched on it, okay? Yeah. But we talked about the Indo-European trope of the Sky Father. Why is it male? Why is it a patriarchy? Why did Yahweh take over? Why was El kicked out?
Yes.
Why was Asherah kicked out? Okay.
Yes. Why was Ashurbanipal kicked out? Why is there no Shiva?
War, okay?
Yeah.
But what I say to Christians and atheists alike, okay?
Yeah.
What I say to Christians and atheists alike, I've been in many panels, and I just speak truth. I'm not offensive. I am polite.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I have infuriated people with my words. Okay. In the last few weeks, I have annoyed so many people by saying this, right? But one of the most common tropes of the Abrahamic religions, whether it's Islam, Christianity, or Judaism, is that we are made in the image of God, right? And you just touched on it. You've just said it yourself.
Yeah.
Is God a man?
No.
If God is a creator, if God is a creator, is God a man or a woman? No.
No.
God
Neither.
is a God.
Yes.
And men and women were made in the image of God to become creators ourselves. Can a man make a baby by himself?
No, cannot. That's right.
Can a woman immaculately conceive a child by herself? With no husband, with no man? No.
Right.
We need each other. We
right.
are God. We are made in the image of God.
Yes.
Man and woman together.
Yes.
Patriarchy, bullshit.
Yep.
Bullshit.
Yep.
That is why the world
Monotheistic
is so
bullshit, right?
Apart.
Yeah.
It's absolute crap.
Yeah.
It's absolute crap. And what's wrong with this world is greedy men.
Yes.
Greedy men who
Yes.
have kept women suppressed. We are equals.
Yes. There's a reason for that.
Pre-Christian
There's a reason for that. The men learned how to control this matrix. And what they can do is, if they can keep the women, push the women out, keep that feminine energy away, they can keep men in a low vibration, and they're easier to control. If you keep the whole population in fear, and it's working. Yeah, and it's working. So the male-dominated religions.
And good men like us, we need to call out evil every time we see it, guys.
Yes.
We need to call out evil.
Yes.
Call out evil. Don't be afraid to speak the truth. Sometimes, right? Sometimes the truth does fucking hurt. You still have to follow the truth.
Right.
You have to follow the truth. People will get offended. They'll clutch their pearls. They'll spit in your face, right?
Yeah.
Never be afraid to call out evil.
That's right.
Evil, greedy men are destroying this world, and there'll be nothing left for anybody. That's the fucking truth. I'm sorry for a curse.
No, but it's true. That's what my book is about, my friend. That's what my book is about. The reality about reality, returning to the old ways. Right? David had to go. I love you, David. We'll have to have him back. I love him. We'll have to have him on the panel. Okay, so those of you who are watching on YouTube and Facebook, I hope you guys were able to hear that conversation. I moved my phone over closer to the microphone. I hope you got to hear David when he was here.
I'm going to log out as well and go back down into the chat.
All right, brother. All right, you can. If you can stay if you want, but if you want to go back in there, that's okay too. Right? Right. Right? Okay. So David can come on anytime, brother. You can come on anytime that you want, and we can talk, and we continue with that conversation. I love you, brother, and thank you for coming on and talking. So, literally, you guys have to realize that there was a certain time. That's why I have my book. You guys can look at the name on my shirt, The Reality About Reality, Returning to the Old Ways. In that book, I described to you exactly what David was talking about, what Peter was talking about, what I was talking about. There was a definitive time. There was a time in this world's history when everybody knew this information and everybody was out there and teaching it. All the religions of the world, the so-called religions now, all of them knew about this information. They knew about this Christ oil, this christening that happens within each one of us. They knew about the way to ascend to heaven, the Tao Te Chi, right? 634 BCE, somewhere in that time period between 630 and 640 BCE. That's before Common Era, before Christ, BC. There was a man over in China. There was two of them. One was the Buddha, and the other one was Lao Tzu. Lao Tzu gave information on how to get out of this, the way to get out of here, which they originally or eventually made the Tao out of. The religion Taoism was from his sayings and his way, and they eventually compiled all of his works together and called it the Tao Te Ching, the Book of the Way. Then you had the Buddha over in China, which we now know in history was the prince who was dressing up undercover like a pauper and also giving all of this information to people, not from Lao Tzu, but at the same time, in that same time period, 630 to 640 BCE in China, giving this information. Now it is Buddhism and Taoism, okay? Come forward in time to the years of AD, Anno Domini, that means in the year of our Lord, it's Latin, Anno Domini, in the year of our Lord, and the year 20 to 27, right, in that time period, you had Jesus, who was born in the year 3 or 4 BC, and then died in the year about 27 AD. So this is 2025. So in the year 2026, 2027 is going to be the 2,000-year anniversary of Jesus's resurrection, death and resurrection. Okay? 2026, 2027, the timelines are shifting a little bit, but right now it's 2027. You can look that up. If you look it up in the Smith's Bible Dictionary, which is the dictionary that all religions have said this is the most comprehensive dictionary of timelines from all Bibles put together so that you can look everything up. In there it says that Jesus was born in the year 4 BC. He was 33 years of age. So if you go 4, 3, 2, 1, right? Then you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 33 years from the year 4 is 27. Okay. So 27, the year 27, Jesus was crucified and died on the cross and was resurrected 3 days later, 2.5 days later, 60 hours later, was resurrected, got up, talked to everybody. If the modern Christian Bible says he then disappeared and went up to heaven. The next book, Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, Acts, ACTS, Acts of the Apostles. That tells you that Jesus was not just resurrected for 1 minute to say, hi, I'm here. Thomas, look at the blood in my hand and gotta go, guys, go into heaven. That book tells you that Jesus stayed here for 40 days alive after his resurrection and taught to thousands of people, hundreds of people saw him in that time period, and then he ascended to heaven. Okay? So the Acts of the Apostle and all those books tell you what went on after Jesus was gone and how the churches got started. Okay, Angel Studios, I don't work for them, but I'm promoting them. Angel Studios, go to their website. They have a series called Testament 2025. It just came out in 2026, Testament, and it is made from the books of Acts of the Apostles. And it tells the story of that 40 days, Jesus leaves, and Peter and the group come out, but it's set in modern times, so it's really cool. Set like as if it happens today, but in an alternate reality. Okay, you'll see that quickly, that it's sort of an alternate reality, but it's now. And so that they're taking that out of context from 2,000 years ago and showing it to you as if it happened today. Okay, so it means something different when you see that happen. You see it happening in the modern day and go, what if that was happening? What if we were alive 2,000 years ago? It would be the modern day for us. So they're translating it that way. But all of the things that happen in there and the words come out of Acts of the Apostle. Why are you not taught that in school? Why are you not taught that in church if you're a Christian? I'm a Christian minister. I have 2 Christian minister titles. One from the Roman Catholic Church, the Holy Roman Catholic See knighted me and gave me a Sir title. I was baptized in that religion. Okay. And I can move the thing back over here because I don't have anybody up over here. So I'm going to put the camera back. So those of you that are listening around the world on YouTube channel and on Facebook, I probably lost you guys because you heard me talking to nobody, and I apologize for that. Because next time I'm going to do this on TikTok. So then I'll just record it and put it out for everybody and share it. And you guys are going to have to come to TikTok. We'll figure that out. Okay. So I am live on TikTok, and I'm live in the studio behind this camera, on this camera, for YouTube and Facebook. And that's recording to go out to the MP3 broadcast all around the world. My podcast is Orion Rising. If you listen to a podcast anywhere you listen to it, you can look up Orion Rising. My name, Leonard O'Neill. You can see it on the screen as the host on your screen. And if you're on YouTube and Facebook, you can see it right over here on the screen. Okay. Look up Orion Rising, and there's over 500 episodes, almost 600 episodes of me talking about this kind of stuff, teaching you about spirituality. Okay. Teaching you true history about what was going on. So people got a hold of this information and started editing the Bible. So Angel Studios now has a television series. My wife and I just started watching it. It's called Testament, and they're teaching you what happened. And then they're telling you Jesus was around for 40 days. That's in the Bible, but they don't teach you that in most churches. Why? They teach you that he got up and said, "No, doubting Thomas, touch my wounds. I'm alive. I'm here. Bye. I got to go." And then they just skip over and start teaching you the book of Romans. Okay. There's a reason for that. The church isn't wrong. It's been corrupted. Okay. And I'm not coming from an atheist perspective. I am a theologian, and I have 4 religious titles. And I'm coming from that perspective of I study religion, I study spirituality all over the world, and I study everything that I can find. And I've been doing it my entire life. I am 58 years old of age, and I have been studying philosophical, religious, spiritual texts since I was 4 or 5 years old. That is not a joke. Okay. So evil men, like David said when he was here, evil men got a hold of the churches and got a hold of this information of how to keep people stuck. And if you move women over and pull them out of the equation, and you only have men in the equation, men are easier if they don't have that femininity. If they don't have that caring, loving, nurturing side to them, and they're more warlike, their vibration is lower and they're easier to control. Okay. And then if you can create a sense of fear in people who are afraid are more easy to control. People that are a lower energy and living in the flesh only and don't have any idea of spirituality in any way are easier to control. So the people that want to control the world have gotten control of corporations, television stations, platforms, and religions, and they change the curriculum. And if you look at the Council of Nicaea, the First and Second Council of Nicaea, Constantine, who was a Roman, who was the emperor of Rome, decided that the Roman people needed to be Christian, and he changed the Bible. We know that he took books out, changed the Bible, and rewrote the Bible. And we know that the Orthodox Church and the Ethiopian Church walked away from that council and said, "You're not editing our Bibles." And anybody that had scrolls that belonged in those Bibles that he didn't want in there, those were taken out and they were burned. And some people called the Essenes, who were part of the church, the Christian church at the time, one of the orders of the Christian church, stole the information and said, "You're not taking this out." And they ran and hid it. We only know that because in 1948, in the Dead Sea area, some kids were throwing rocks in a cave, broke some pots, went in there and found these scrolls that are now known as the Dead Sea Scrolls because it was in the Dead Sea area. And the Essenes, we now know from history, were the people who put it in there, and Constantine hunted them all down, tortured them, and murdered them to get all that information and never got those. We know that because we found them. Now that we found them and they're out in the world and we've been studying them, the Ethiopian church, Christian church in Ethiopia, and the Eastern Orthodox Church over in the east, the far east, the steppes of Russia, they both have said those scrolls that you guys have found in the Dead Sea are in our Bibles. And people have said, "No way, that can't be true." Is that David coming back? I think that's David coming back. I don't know, but I'm gonna invite it. If that's David, I'm inviting you again, brother, because your name popped up. If it's not you, if you don't want to come back, then just hit the button. But it popped up. So literally, they changed the Bibles, and those groups said no, and they left, and they've been protecting their Bible and didn't let them change it. We only know that because recently they both come out and said our Bible, and then the Irish, the Kells, with the Book of Kells, the Irish had a Bible that they also found and said, "No, we're not allowing you guys to do this," and they've held on to it. So those 3 Bibles exist and have existed on this planet. This is history. You can look it up. I'm not making it up. These people are now going, we have a Bible that has all of those books in it that are missing. So when people go to Ethiopia and look at their Bible and write down the names of the books that are in the Bible that are not in the modern Bible, weirdly, they're exactly the same books that we found in the Dead Sea area. okay, that people say were fake. And they're in that Bible. And then the Eastern Orthodox people, their churches, they're like, ours has got a lot of those books too. And then people are looking at that and going, wow, okay. So books, we now know that the Bible was edited from Constantine, okay, in the year 940 or 939, 940. Don't quote me exactly on the year. I don't have that right in front of me, okay. So don't get mad and send me emails going, you were wrong, okay. What Woo Rider over on YouTube said, this is another YouTube live stream. Lately, it has been double uploading live streams on YouTube. Yeah, no, you know why I did that, Woo? Because everybody is now separating, and StreamYard just started doing this. What they're doing is, if you look at on the screen when I see you, you're on your phone, and I can see that some people like Muad'Dib was on his phone. StreamYard and TikTok on their studios has two versions that you opt to. One is a desktop version and one is a cell phone version. So one is landscape and one is upright like this. And when I clicked on it in StreamYard, it puts both on the screen. The same thing happens in TikTok, so that if you're in one, you can see it, the whole thing on your screen on your phone when your phone's upright. If you turn your phone sideways, I think it expands to full screen. But if you're on a computer, it's going to show you the full screen edition. So what's happening is when people are going live, if they're using TikTok or they're using the StreamYard, they now have both upgraded their programming. So there's one version that's vertical and one version that's horizontal. And you said the vertical version is horrible. See, I'm glad. Thank you for that feedback. So, but are you actually on a cell phone right now? So the vertical version on your cell phone will be horrible. So you have to go to the cell phone version, which is the one you're on currently right now. That's the one that's this way. And that one is tiny on your screen, right? I was showing my wife. I said, I wouldn't want that. So try turning your phone sideways and see if it goes landscape. Because if it doesn't, it's tiny. And that bugs me too, right? So I would prefer the other version as well. Right, you're a moderator on the channel. The vertical version won't let you post links in the chat. Oh well, see, I didn't know that. I'll have to go over there and figure that out. That just popped up with the upgrade this week from StreamYard, so I haven't figured it out. But I also had the same problem with TikTok when I was on the TikTok studio, and I decided to go live on TikTok on my phone instead of doing it in the studio. I'm going to start going in the studio, but the same thing was happening, and I could turn off that one that was the vertical one because it's really small on cell phones, right? So I'm going to figure out how to do that on StreamYard, but I may just start going live on TikTok and then posting the video to StreamYard after that. But there'll be a link. But the only reason I'm not doing that is because some people don't have TikTok, but they do have a computer and they can get onto YouTube. So right now I'm trying to figure out how I can simulcast that because I can have both windows open, but I can't have both microphones on. Camera has to be only one, or I have to have two cameras, and then I can't have both microphones shared by both studios. So the problem is just like now when David and Peter were on here on my phone, I moved my phone over close to the computer because the microphone that's picking up what I'm saying is on the laptop over here, not on my cell phone. So the laptop is picking it up and broadcasting it, and my cell phone is picking it up for the people on TikTok. But you guys have to hear my cell phone through the speaker here onto the microphone over here on this monitor, right? So you guys don't get to, you guys on TikTok are hearing the other guys on TikTok, but you guys on Facebook and YouTube will only hear these guys when I move my speaker from my cell phone next to the microphone that's picking up this broadcast that you're hearing up here. So I have to figure out how to channel that and put it into one thing if I'm going to broadcast on two different studios at the same time. Because on here, on StreamYard, I can hook up anything but not TikTok. TikTok wants you to use their product only. So I can't stream from TikTok to multicast. I haven't figured out how to do that yet. So I got to play with the TikTok studio. And if I can do that and then broadcast on YouTube from TikTok, I will. And that way I'll eliminate StreamYard and I'll stop paying them the $160 I pay them every year to broadcast here. And then if the other way around, if TikTok will allow us to stream from TikTok onto StreamYard, from StreamYard onto TikTok Studio. I'm going to see if I can hook that up. If I can, I'll use StreamYard and simulcast that way. So I apologize for that. But yeah, it's probably crap, right? If you're a moderator on the channel, yeah, I can change it when I was live, but it's on here right now, and I could pop it up to see what you see. I have it on the screen now. I can see both what your phone looks like when you're holding it this way, but it shows me just upright. But if I go to the YouTube thing and it's scrolling, I think it's in the center of the screen right now. It shows that the vertical is just pinched in. It's just pinched in to where you can see my hands, like right there, are pinched in, and you can't see all the stuff that's out here. But you guys on TikTok, you can only see a little bit out to about right there. Right, that's what my camera shows on TikTok, right? So you guys don't see everything as well. Let me see what I'm doing here with this. I think this will. I'm looking at some of the features on TikTok. So yeah, so I'm trying to figure all that out because TikTok does the same thing. So I apologize if those of you on YouTube are looking at it and you're on the vertical one and you don't like it. That's brand new. Maybe they'll get rid of it. I don't know if they'll get rid of it, but I couldn't not have it on. Same thing with TikTok. It's defaulted now to where they're both simulcasting. So I'm literally broadcasting twice, once vertical and once horizontal. And I saw that in my thing that they're both broadcasting, simulcasting the same time on YouTube. So I'm going to see if I can turn one off and just stay with the other one. I don't know. We'll figure that out. Okay. So I apologize for those of you on TikTok. Talking to the guys on the other thing over there. So if you're on TikTok, hit those stars for me, right? Hit those hearts for me, right? And get those hearts up, and then please follow me and hit that button so that you guys get notifications when I go live, because I will be talking about spirituality all the time. I do this, and I don't even know how long I've been alive. I think I've been alive almost 3 hours now, right? Yeah, close to it. So I'm probably going to get close to ending. So I never got to play anything from the Emerald tablets this week. There's one tablet left that I didn't get to play, but that's okay because we had a really good discussion talking about spirituality, talking about history. None of this is made up. You guys, if you're out there and you tuned in, I haven't made up anything that I have said. Everything that I have said is actual history from around the world. I am a minister. You can look that up in my bio. And David, who popped in, and Peter, who popped in, both of them from Kildare over there in Ireland. I love those guys. I've known Peter for years, decades. And I'm glad to have met David. I'd love to have David come on and to have more discussions. I'm going to have him up on a panel. So I'll have to talk to Peter, tell him that I want to talk to him, and we'll see if we'll have him on, and we'll get a panel together with him and I and a couple other people like Eddie. We'll get Eddie Hensley up here with David and myself, and hopefully maybe we can get my wife to pop in and talk. She's still not quite sure she likes to talk in public, so she doesn't do a lot of that, but she teaches and when she's not on public, she teaches, but she just doesn't know that she wants to get up and teach people on television online. But she's a great teacher and a great leader and a great healer, and very wide awake. And so we'll see if she decides that she wants to speak at some point. She does it when we're off camera. If I'm not on live on air, she's on camera talking all the time to everybody, teaching people. She just doesn't want to be on the live on air. I don't know why. We'll get her past that. She just, it's like, oh crap, people are watching me, right? So, but she says she's totally confident when we're just in person or on a private call. She has no problems. Okay, so yeah, so it's weird. That's something that was new for StreamYard and TikTok, and I'm trying to figure that stuff out as time goes. Trying to figure out if I can just eliminate it or if it's going to work. So thank you for the feedback on that. Okay, so we were talking about the Emerald tablets. I didn't get to play any of the Emerald tablets. I've been live for 3 hours. Maybe I'll play some of it just so you guys can hear it. Those of you that are on TikTok, you guys can't see the visuals anyways. So the only thing that you guys can do is see the. I'm trying to change the layout here of the thing. I guess it doesn't matter. You guys are still seeing me because I have the boxes open because people popped in. And I didn't turn those off. So hold on a second here. I got to make sure that I clear the screen here from all the other stuff that's on my live. Okay, so like I said, guys, hit those hearts for me, and please please, follow me. So we were talking about the Emerald Tablets. We were doing, as soon as I say the word Emerald Tablets, AI pops up. Emerald Tablets of Thoth, follow spirituality talks, trying to get me to mess around with that, and I'm not, you know what I mean? Hit those hearts. Thank you, Peter. Thank you, Brooke, for doing that. Hit those hearts and subscribe to me. Take a look at my book. I know it's backwards on your screen. I think it's maybe it's not. I can't tell. The Reality About Reality, Returning to the Old Ways. Look that book up. That book is there's a link to it in my bio, I believe. If there's not, there's a video that shows you the book on my page. You can Google it. The Reality About Reality, subtitle Returning to the Old Ways by Leonard O'Neill. You can see my name. And that book will tell you all the information that I've been talking to you about and show you where in history that they were doing that. There was a time in the world's history when they changed things, and they did it to control people. And you saw David came on here, right? That's okay to do that. If it is, go ahead and do that, Peter. Peter said it's giving me the options to make David a moderator. Go ahead and do that, because I trust David. He's a friend of yours. I trust that he won't do something crazy. So if you want to make him a moderator, please do. That way, if he pops in, he can help moderate. So, because right now it's just you and my wife that are doing moderating. Brooke is in there moderating as well. So literally, they change things to control the population in a certain way, and they've got control of all the Orthodox religions around the world, not just the Christian ones, but all of them. And there's some holdouts that refuse to allow them to control or edit that Bible, the Europeans that are trying to edit that stuff. But there's a definite timeline when that happened, okay? And it started in the year 930 to 939 with Constantine, who was the ruler in Rome at the time, who was the Caesar in Rome. And he decided that the Roman Empire was going to be Christian, and they changed the Bible at the First and Second Council of Nicaea. Then come forward to the 1500s, and you had King James, who also, I don't know if he did it nefariously. Some people say he did. I haven't researched that thoroughly. But King James came out with the King James version of the Bible, where there were more changes to the Christian Bible than the ones that were done by Constantine back in the year 939. So, in 1500 years, or in the 1500s, 500 years ago, it was changed again. Then if you look at the translation in the modern era, we have the new modern version, that their international version that they've put out in English. And that's changed the wording in different ways that change the Bible in some areas. And some of us talk about that. For instance, you can look this up. If you look it up in the new modern versions of the Bible, in there when it talks about the number of the beast, right? Let him who hath understanding reckon the number of the beast. That's more of a quote from the King James version in the way that was spoken. Let him who hath understanding reckon the number of the beast. And what it says today is, for it is a human number. It is a human number. Okay? That's what it says today. Even in the King James version, it didn't say it is a human number. Even back then, 500 years ago, it said it is a number of man. Okay? That was also a wrongful translation. It was a number of man. It is a human number. That's the wrong translation of the original text. If you go back and look at, say, the Ethiopian Bible or the Eastern Orthodox Church version of it, you'll find out that those words said, let him who hath understanding reckon the number of the beast, for it is the number of man. The number of man. Not a number of man. The number of man. Okay? And its number is 666. And in the old version, it said 666. Okay? That's the King James version, 666, which means 666. Okay? But it's not a human number. Well, it's the number of the devil. It's not a human number. It is the number of man. Man meaning the human condition. Okay? What does that mean? We're all the devil. No. This is the earth is hell. No. Okay? What it was telling you, what has been changed, was that the number of man is 666. Why is that important? Because you, me, this third dimensional reality, okay, this flesh body, we are made up of 6 electrons, 6 neutrons, and 6 protons. 666. 666. 6 electrons, 6 neutrons, 6 protons make up the building blocks for the human condition. Okay? So what they were telling you in that book was that the number of the beast is flesh. The human condition is the beast. This so-called reality is the beast. Okay? And the beast is nature. The beast is us in the physical. When you're in the physical and living in the physical, you believe that this is all there is. This is it. When I die, I'm done and I'm over with. Say I'm an atheist. I don't believe that there's a creator of the universe. I don't believe in anything. I don't believe there is any kind of gods. I don't believe that there's an everlasting soul. I don't believe in reincarnation. None of that's true. When I die, that's it. It's just over. I just don't exist after that. I just wink out of existence, and I never was and I never will be again. There are people who believe that. Okay? And that is what the people who are trying to control, that I call the controllers in my book, are trying to get you to think. This is it. You have one life, and that's it. And when you're done, and it's over. Okay? That could not be farther from the truth. Okay? So the translation was purposefully changed to a human number, and then you're told it's the number of the devil, which was not Satan, the devil, which was not in the Bible anywhere at that time. That word was added later on. Okay? The time of Jesus, they started calling people you devils, meaning that not meaning you possessed evil spirit that is outside of a body who's in charge, Satan in charge of hell. That just meant you're like Malachi, or you missed someone who's mischievous. Okay? Was a devil. You can look that up. That's not me making up words. That's me looking at language at the time. Okay? If you've ever taken a philosophy class, you take intro to philosophy in any college, anywhere for that matter, but at college especially, they will tell you that introductory to philosophy in that time period, if you're trying to figure out what a philosopher was talking about, they tell you the same thing in a theological college. If you're trying to figure out what the religion was talking about or a prophecy was talking about, the first thing you have to do is ask yourself, when was it written, who wrote it, and where in the world were they at the time? You have to learn who the person was, what language they spoke, and what did the words mean to the person who wrote it at the time they wrote it, not what they mean now. Because words change. 2,000 years ago, Jesus had a companion, and her name was Mary Magdalene. Today, that word companion means friend, buddy, someone that travels with you. 2,000 years ago, it literally meant wife. It meant spouse. Okay? So, literally, you have to realize that. So, lost in translation, you've heard that. So, things have been translated on purpose, where they changed the word the. It is the number of man to a number of man. And that changes what 666 means to everybody in the world by changing one word from a to the, or from the to a, is what they actually did. Small things like that did someone do that on purpose, or was that a lost in translation? Because the Bibles that we have today that are, say, in English came from a translation. Usually they came from the King James Version, which was translated into modern English. Words that meant something 500 years ago could have meant a different definition today. Okay? Words, even today, one word means different things. When people talk about theology, right? I'm a theologian. Theology. What does the word theology mean? Some people will tell you it's the study of religion. Okay? It's like the word philosophy. What is philosophy? Someone say it's the study of thinking. It's the study of knowledge. Okay? Where did those words come from, and what did that word mean to the people who called it that? If you look at philosophy, the Greeks, it was a Greek word, and it was a word that meant a concept. It didn't just mean philosophy is the study of thinking. It was the study of knowledge. Okay? So, but what did that mean? The word actually meant the knowledge of love, or the love of knowledge. So the actual translation at the time that the Greeks used it, philosophy meant the love of knowledge, or the knowledge of love. It didn't mean the study of thinking. Theology doesn't mean the study of religion. Theology means the study of spirituality. But people only study the religion. And so they think that theology means comparative religion. Okay, theology, true theology, and a true theologist is somebody who doesn't just study religion and compare them. It's somebody who also studies the spirituality of those religions. But they take that last part off and don't let anybody talk about that. And theologians only talk about the study of religion and go, where did they get that religion from? And then they chase the different books and go, well, that sounds like a book that was over here. So that book is older. They must have written it from there and borrowed it when they created this religion. And that's what they do. They start chasing, forget about the message. They start chasing the religion and when it was created and by who. Okay. And then they don't tell you what the message was that was in there. They don't even study the message. They don't even look at the message. They're just looking at when it was created, by who, and what the oldest scroll was, because whoever can find the oldest scroll is going to get the most money and the most grants, and they're going to sell the most books, and they're going to be on all the talk shows, and they're going to make all kinds of money saying, I've discovered an older scroll than the Mesopotamian scroll, and it looks like the Mesopotamians borrowed that scroll from these people. And then people are going to go, no, that's not true. That can't be true. And they're going to spend, academia is going to spend the rest of their lives trying to disprove that guy. And then he's going to be all over the talk shows and everybody else is, and they're all going to make money. And guess what? Chasing their tail, and they're not talking about what is the same thing that everybody's talking about in all these religions. What is it that they're all talking about, and is it the same? Well, they all borrowed it from the oldest religion. Okay, so what was so important that every religion borrowed from one religion, if that's what happened? What was that was so important? Do you know? Are they teaching you that? Because if they were teaching you that, you'd be able to answer that question. Right now in the chat, you would go, well, it's this. Okay? But they're not teaching you that. Why? And if you're a theologian in a theological college, then you'll find that it's the same. They're teaching you to compare religions. Just like I said, my brother's in a theological college. He comes to me and says, do you know that the Hebrew Bible is not even a Bible? It's an apocrypha. I'm like, so that means that somebody created it? It's just made up? Well, it was supposedly came from God. And I was like, okay, so your religion came from that religion and also came from God. So your religion has to be an apocrypha too. It can't be a Bible because it was written up, say, let's just start with Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. Okay, so Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John were people who followed Jesus telling the story of Jesus. So your Bible's not really a Bible. It didn't come from God. It came from the mouth of Jesus, who was, by his own words, not God. Jesus said he was the Son of Man. He said he was the Son of God, not God. Okay, so that puts him up there on the chain. Yeah, don't get me wrong. I'm a Christian minister in two different religions. Don't get me wrong. But my point is, what if the Hebrew religion isn't real, the Christian religion and the Muslim religion can't be real either, because the Hebrew religion was created and so was the Muslim religion, created out of the Book of Moses, out of what the Christians call the Old Testament, the Hebrew Talmud. Okay. So you can't look at those religions and say they're not real, because that means that your religion can't be real either. Okay. And then you have some Hebrews who claim that the Christian religion was created by the Romans. Jesus was created then by the Romans. Not true. We have actual history. And they go, well, it was Romans that told the story because they were creating Jesus. They know the truth of that. They know that the Christos, the Christ, is a Christ oil that's within you. They know that story was already being told in every single religion. We have proof of that. Look at the religions. And I teach that. I teach that if you look at every single religion, you will find the exact same story that was done the same way. And I'm going to do more comprehensive stuff on that. And my wife keeps telling me I'm going to write a second book about it. I don't know if I'm going to write a book about that, but I talk about it. Okay. And if you look into the religions and look into their spiritual practice, you'll see that. Right? If you look at, let's just go to Thor. Thor and Odin of the Viking sagas. What did Thor do? Thor got into it with his father. His father said, you're going to be the all god at some point when I die. Weird that gods died back in the history, but whatever. Oh, there must have been demigods. Now we're going to semantical things. Let's forget about that. Odin, the All-Father, creator of the universe, told Thor, you need to have some humility. You're too arrogant and you're a teenager. You're acting like a teenager and there's something wrong with your brain. He says, I'm going to cast you down to Middle Earth and I'm going to take away your powers and you won't be able to pick up Mjolnir, which means lightning, your warhammer, until you prove yourself. So he sent him down. They made a movie about it where he came down. Helmsworth played him. He couldn't pick up the sword in the stone. He couldn't pick up the hammer that was stuck in the dirt. He had to prove himself. God sent Jesus down to earth as a human. He had to go through human things. Thor had to go through human things. Thor had to die for humans, to learn humility, to die for the humans because he was sacrificing himself, because he had to learn to love others, and he did. Jesus came here to show people the love of others, and he died for the human race. Then he was resurrected, and he was immortal when he was resurrected. Thor was then resurrected, and he was immortal, and he could go and pick up the Mjolnir, his warhammer, now because he was worthy of it. Sword in the Stone from King Arthur, same story. Okay. Then he was able to ascend, but go across Bifrost, the Rainbow Bridge, and ascend back to Valhalla, their version of heaven. And he brought some humans with him to help defend Valhalla. Jesus brought 12 apostles with him to heaven. They just took a little bit longer to come up there, but it was the same story. Do you understand? So if you look at Marduk did the same thing. That story is the same in all of the religions. There's a version of that. Shiva did the same thing. Shiva came down in human form, was a human, had to die, was resurrected. And who else did that? Was it Zeus? It was definitely Apophis. Just about everybody. If you look at Zeus, did the same thing. Walked on water, turned water to wine, made the sick heal, cured the blind, brought people back from the dead. You can look this up. It's true stories. I'm not making this up. It's not conspiracy theory. It's in history. The same story was the same story that they were telling. They know about this. Everybody knows about it. So they didn't borrow it. They're like, well, they must have borrowed it from the oldest religion. And then they get you stuck on chasing your tail again. But what did they borrow? They borrowed the story about the Christ within. They borrowed the story about the Christ consciousness within you. They all told that and taught that same story to the world. And then it was changed, the Council of Nicaea, in the year 936 to 39 to 40, somewhere around there. Then it was changed again in the 1500s by King James. And the information about that was removed from the Bibles. And people said, that's not true. Those books weren't removed. There's no proof of that. Ethiopian Bible, they're showing it to the world today. Eastern Orthodox Church, their Bible, they're showing it to the world today. They refused and walked out of that council back almost 2,000 years ago, 1,900 years or 1,200 years ago. 1,000, whatever that is, 1,050 years ago, 1,500 years ago. They walked away from that council and didn't let them edit it and protected that Bible, and recently come out and said, this is our Bible. It has all these books in it, and they didn't add those books in. And those books just happened to coincide with the books that were found in the Dead Sea area in 1948 that everybody claimed are not real, and that they were taken out of the Bible because they weren't, in fact, real books that should be in the Bible. Yet, the people in the Eastern Orthodox Church, the people in Ireland with the Book of Kells, and the people in Ethiopia all have the same Bible with the same books in it, and it has all those books that were taken out that are no longer in the current modern Christian Bible or Hebrew Bible or the Old Testament of the Christians. And all those books that are in there that they claim are not true and not real are in all those other books that that they can prove were all put together at the same time and were around at the time and that they walked out in history. Okay, so those texts, everything that was in the Dead Sea Scrolls, are all in those Bibles, and they've been protecting that information until it's time for them to tell you about it, and they've done that. Okay, so now people are investigating that. This isn't me making something up. People are investigating that, and they're going over to Ethiopia. And they're reading these things, and they're going, what is this book called? And what is it? The Book of Truth. The Book of Truth is in Daniel. I was just listening to Daniel yesterday. Go and read Daniel from the Bible that's in the Old Testament and in the Hebrew Bible. in there, Daniel says, and I will show you after this conversation in the scroll of truth, in the book of truth, this information is in there. There just happens to be a book of truth that was taken out of the Christian Bible that was in the Dead Sea area that you can look up online. The book of truth, the scroll of truth, was removed from the Christian canon, and in a Bible that is still there in the Christian canon, refers to that scroll in David. Okay, or Daniel, I'm sorry, in Daniel. So if you go to Daniel and you listen to Daniel or read Daniel, he talks about the scroll of truth. Whereas that scroll of truth in the modern Bible, it's not there, but weirdly, it's in the Dead Sea area and came up with the Dead Sea Scrolls. And weirdly, it's in the Ethiopian Bible, and weirdly, it's in the Eastern Orthodox Church Bible, and weirdly, it's in the Book of Kells that the Irish have. So why aren't they teaching that, and why was it removed from the Council of Nicaea, the First and Second Council of Nicaea? Because it didn't paint Jesus or God in the way that they wanted him painted at the time. Okay? I'm not making this up. This is history. You can look this up for yourself. I will tell you, and I'm going to have to go because I've been on the air for 3 hours and 10 minutes. So I'm going to end the show for today, and I'll pick up next week, and we'll finish the last tablet, the tablet 15 of the Emerald Tablets, and then we'll move on to more other canons that we'll talk about and spiritual stuff. If you guys have questions, follow me. Hit those hearts for me. Please follow me on TikTok. Please follow me on YouTube. Please follow me on Facebook, and hit that button, subscribe to me, and hit that button to know when I go live. My podcast is called Orion Rising. I may drop the Orion Rising and just continue teaching as myself, and just start going live and talking as Leonard O'Neill on TikTok, and then start broadcasting the stuff to the rest of the world. I have a podcast that is called Orion Rising, and that I may probably have to keep that. So I will be mentioning that, because if you listen on an MP3 broadcast, anywhere you listen to a podcast around the world on an MP3 file, you can look up Orion Rising by Leonard O'Neill, and you can listen to all my podcasts. I have up on that around the world. I have 400 episodes of me talking about spirituality and telling you the same story and proving to you in history. It's not me making it up. It's not something that I think. I'm a theologian. I've been learning about religion my entire life. I have 4 religious titles. If you read the link in my bio, you know this. Okay, I am awake. I am completely unveiled, and I know who I am, who I was, and who I am up there, where I came from, how many times I've lived on this earth, and who I was in every lifetime. Okay, and I am here with a coalition of people, with a council. I am here with the Orion Council of Light, the Orion Coalition of Light, boots on the ground, those souls that came here, the Orion Council of Light that is part of the Galactic Council. And we have come here, and we have come here to help you guys, okay? We've come to help expand your consciousness. There are many of us around the world. There's other councils that have come here. It's the Council of Human Relations. There's the Galactic Council, which we're a part of, okay? We sit on the Galactic Council. All these different groups of people have come to this earth at this particular time to help you to expand your consciousness, okay? And we're starting to tell you who we are. So you're hearing more and more people starting to say, we are here to help you, and we came to this earth to give you a hand to expand your consciousness. But I also tell you, don't believe anything that any of us are saying to you. Don't believe what I'm saying to you. Assume that I'm lying to you. Assume that I'm making all of this up, and go out and look this stuff up for yourself, okay? Because I'm not trying to sell you a religion. Religion recruits you. Spirituality waits for you to find it. What I'm here to do is to help you expand your consciousness, to give you some tools to allow you to expand your consciousness, to give you back your freedom of thought and your thinking for yourself. So I'm encouraging you to say that I'm lying. I'm encouraging you to think that I'm lying, and I'm encouraging you to read and learn for yourself and make up your own mind, because once you start asking questions, that's the beginning of you waking up and changing and expanding your consciousness. Question everything, read, learn everything, and question everything. When you start doing that, you start thinking for yourself, you'll start critically thinking for yourself, and something crazy happens. You get smarter from education and knowledge, but you also will expand your consciousness. And when you start to expand your consciousness, you will also gain a universal knowledge. that will be downloaded to you that you will have access to. If you are in service to others, you gain access to one type of knowledge that is in service to others. If you are self-serving, you will gain access to a knowledge that only self-serving people who expand their consciousness gain access to. You will gain one of those two platforms' knowledge, and then you will become smarter and you will know more things. And you will find that if you're evil, you'll know everything that evil people know. And if you're not evil and you're good, you will also start to know everything that good people know. You'll find that it's the same knowledge. You unlock the same knowledge that all of those prophets throughout all of history and all of the so-called religions, all of the spiritual ways of thinking around this earth, and all of the stories of all of those religions. There's one story that is identical to every single other religion. Find that story, find that knowledge, and you will understand what's happening to you on this earth. Or buy my book, The Reality About Reality, Returning to the Old Ways, and I explain it to you there. Or buy the book, God, Man, the Bible Made Flesh, which came out in 1948, and they explain it to you as well. Other people around the world are starting to do the same thing. Religion recruits you, spirituality waits for you to find it. All right, guys, I love you. I'm 3 hours, 15 minutes in. I'm going to get in for today. You guys have a good morning, a good afternoon, a good evening, or a good morrow, depending on where in the world you are tuning into the show. This has been Orion Rising, the podcast. I am Leonard O'Neill, your host, and I will see you guys back here on TikTok or YouTube or Facebook or anywhere you listen to the podcast around the world in MP3 podcast. Look me up. It's there. I love you guys, and I will see you guys next time I'm live. Look for me, follow me, whatever platform you're on, and hit that link, follow me, and know when I go live, and then you guys will be able to come, you guys will be able to listen to what I'm saying. There's Peter. What's up, Peter? I love you, brother. What's that? Have a good night, my brother. Right? Have a good night, brother. I love you. Yeah, you got an invite because you popped in.
Brooke has a reason. Talk to you whatever, all right?
Yeah, we'll talk after. All right, guys, I love you guys. I'm going to end the podcast on both channels, but I will be back. I will be live on TikTok more often. I'm going to go live in the studio there, and then we'll put it around the world, and you guys can listen. You guys can rewatch it on YouTube, or you can listen to it on the MP3 broadcast, which is listened to in over 70 countries. Okay, or you guys can rewatch it on TikTok. But I'll be able to. I'll be getting that files up there as well. So I'll put it from the other channel. We'll probably post it here, but when I'm in the TikTok studio, I'll also put it up so you'll see the whole show be there. If not, go to YouTube. It'll be there. If not, listen to it on the MP3 broadcast. You won't see my face, but you'll hear me talking all this stuff. So look me up, Orion Rising, Orion like the constellation, Rising, and the logo is the night scene. It's cover of my book that I wrote, Orion Rising, night scene, Giza Plateau, 3 pyramids, with the Orion constellation, the star constellation in the sky above it. Orion Rising, Leonard O'Neill. Listen to it. Check it out. Come back here. I'll be live again on TikTok. I'm live on Facebook. I'm live on YouTube. And I'll be broadcasting around the world. So I'll see you guys later. I love you, TikTok. I love you, YouTube. I love you, Facebook. I'll see you guys next week. Otherwise, I'll pop in. Sometimes I pop in and go live. If you guys have any questions for me, whatever platform you're on, you can reach me there. If you can't reach me on there, find me on Messenger, and you can reach me on Messenger or send me an email. You can email me at merlinandmaeve@gmail.com. That's Merlin like the Merlin the magician. Maeve is spelled, it's Merlin and A-N-D, Maeve, M-A-E-V-E, Merlin and Maeve @gmail.com. Brooke, if you're still on there, you can see Merlin and Maeve on the screen down there. So type in the chat real quick the email address. You guys can email us there. We will answer questions, and if you want to talk to myself or my wife, we will set up a time, and then we can coach you guys, answer your questions. We have all kinds of stuff. Go to our Facebook page, Merlin and Maeve on Facebook.com, or go our TikTok, Merlin and Maeve, our Instagram, Merlin and Maeve, or YouTube channel, Merlin and Maeve, and you'll see that we also teach Reiki. We do Reiki sessions. We do Reiki attunements. Both of us are mediums. We're psychic mediums. We do readings. We do card reads. We do psychic reads. We do distance healings. We have courses that we're going to have. I know it's way into the show. I should have done this from the beginning. We have courses that we're teaching. Defense Against the Dark Arts 1 and 2 will be coming up, and there might be a 3. We're teaching Reiki attunements online and in person. We're going to be teaching different workshops. We're both life coaches and spiritual life coaches. We have workshops for that. I go live if you're in Australia and in New South Wales. In Australia, I'm live once a month. I've been live for the last couple of months at the Mystic Moon Fair over here in Gosford. I'm in New South Wales. I'm in Woy Woy. And if you can look that up if you're in Australia. I'll be live again probably next month. I don't know the date on that. So I'll be there so you guys could actually show up if you're in New South Wales, show up and see me live and ask me questions. But I'll also broadcast that live. We've done that. Both those broadcasts that I did are on TikTok. If not, they're on my YouTube channel or they're on the MP3 broadcast. You guys can tune in and hear those if you like. So join in, and you guys can, like I said, if you have questions, please ask us. We will give you guys the answers. That's what we're here to do. We're here to expand your consciousness. Peter Coyle, who's also Pete Star TV, that is in the audience here. He works with us. He's part of our coalition. You guys can contact Pete, and if he can't answer the questions, he'll kick you to me or to my wife, Brooke. That we will work with you and help you. Or David, it would seem David probably. His friend David, who I want to have contact with and talk to. He's also a scholar. I love that he came in and spoke for a few minutes on here. So I love you guys. I will see you guys next time I'm live, and we will finish the Emerald Tablets of Thoth. We're on the 15th tablet, the last tablet. So we'll go over that next time we're live. We'll talk about that and actually cover it. This time we ended up covering everything else but that. We talked about it, but we didn't get to finish it. All right, guys. I love you guys. Have a great day. Have a great morning, afternoon, evening, or tomorrow, depending on where you are in the world tuning into the show. And I'll see you guys next time. Love you guys. I got to figure out how to end this, right? I can end the other one. Let me figure out how I end this guy over here. So I apologize trying to end the live stream here on TikTok.